Test 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Test 1 2. I always got to change it back to 70. Test 1 2. Dave, you're so funny.
Yeah, I've been practicing that a lot. You use that a lot.
I don't use that a lot. Something is totally messed up.
What are you talking about?
In my... So weird. It's like something's messed up in Audition to where it sees the wrong output, you know? Like if I do the output for my regular speakers, it goes into my headphones.
Like where it loops the audio back into your headphones?
No, like I want it to go, because it can go out of the Yeti in my headphones, you know, just through the wire. There's an output there, but I have to set the output on Audition to my regular speakers in order for it to go through to the Yeti. It's like it sees them wrong, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm sure there was an update, I just haven't updated, you know?
License extreme health is yellow. Let's see why is this.
Sorry, G-Rant.
Side note, do you guys know, like how Mr. Plow's GPU works? Is it 1060s or 1070s? Because it's AWS, right?
I have no idea.
Okay.
He talked about it on the podcast that one time.
Gotcha. There's just something popped up at MDA, and I was wondering if you guys knew. Otherwise, I would chime into that thread.
Yeah, I have no idea. What's up, Red Zero? What's up, Gab Grant? You know, Gab Grant, I gotta say, it was very confusing to me today when you were saying that you were going through the Make It Look Great 11 series, and I'm like, but you're like one of the fastest modelers that I know. Why would you need to go through that? What's up, Claudio?
You just pull this up so that I can get the chat going, and then mute it. Okay. Because I like to keep an eye on the chat. I know that
You'll be able to see it
early
in the thing too.
Yeah, I know it does its best, but sometimes, as somebody who's usually in the chat, not on the thing, I'm gonna feel left out if I'm not in the chat.
What's up, Tesla Rock?
Michael O'Sullivan commented, some real nice bananas. Alright. I want to make sure on my iPhone that my coffee is hot enough.
Oh my gosh. So stupid.
Oh, I should probably social media now.
Do it.
Yeah. My beverage has reached...
What's up, Dan Marino?
Degrees. What up, Emmett Smith?
What's up, Troy Aikman?
What
Troy Aikman?
Radio.
Like,
What's up? I don't know any more sports people.
oh, okay. I'm on Twitter right now, so I don't have eyes on the chat. So you saying Troy Aikman, I'm like, wait, is there a MoGrapher named Troy Aikman? Because that'd be pretty rad.
All right, I'm taking this live here.
It's business time.
Business time. Ooh.
No one I've doubted just about socks. What time it is? That's why they call them business socks.
Ooh.
Hey,
Come
Andrew
back
Luck.
home
Is
tired from
that
your
some
ladies' social
soccer
netball team
player?
practice?
Hello, everyone.
Sorry, my mechanical clanking away.
Ooh, I got a Twitter notification saying that we're live. I got a YouTube notification saying that we're live. I got a Slack notification saying that we're live.
I can twit ya.
In case
No,
you
please
don't
don't.
know, we're live.
What's up, Swaroop?
All right. Well, let's make sure all our stuff and things are good to go. We're streaming on everything.
I haven't hit
Everything
record
looks
on
good.
Audition.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
I just hit record. Well, I mean, I hit stop and then deleted all the crap and then restarted it.
Gotcha.
I am starting now, so if y'all want to start too, and
Ugh.
let me know when you're going, and we'll do the clap.
I apologize if I'm Trump sniffing because I'm
Trump sniffing.
the allergies are really bad here.
Oh, I clicked go on Audition and it says there was a problem. We recommend you restart Audition.
Okay,
So give me
that's
give
fine.
me 1 second. File, new audio file. Yes. Do you do 44.1 or 48?
44.1.
44.1.
Okay. There we go. Hello. Okay. Oh, cool.
Hey, hey, hey.
This episode sponsored by Coke. Coke Zero Sugar. Zero sugar.
Just gonna get my Red Bull in here. I don't want to be left out.
And Starbucks coffee. And Ember mugs.
Okay. Remember how I was telling you that they're building a Chick-fil-A by my house? So, like, they were almost done with it, right? And then I see a sign that comes up that says, coming soon, Starbucks. The dang building that they were making was a Starbucks, not a Chick-fil-A. So, they haven't even started on the Chick-fil-A yet. I'm really, really sad about it.
The good news is you're going to have a Starbucks.
Right, which, I mean, I guess I could just go over there and work when I get, you know, bored working out of the house, which is nice.
Out.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But if my internet goes out, I don't know.
All right, are we all rolling?
Yes, we're rolling.
Okay, let's do the clap.
Yep.
We're like 30 minutes late. Whoops.
Doesn't matter.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Aaron Sorensen.
That was pretty on.
We're going to talk about you on the show today, Aaron.
Aaron Sorensen. Oh, Facebook. Yeah, I don't go on Facebook anymore. I'm 3 weeks strong, no Facebook.
What?
Yeah.
You're one of those people. I don't do Facebook.
I just don't like it.
I mean, I don't like it
Nobody
either,
does.
but I was in high school when Facebook became a thing, and so it's just I'm stuck.
Mhm.
Yeah. No.
I grew up too much of my life, you know.
I am glad Facebook was not around when I was in high school
Mhm.
because I did some dumb stuff. And I would have posted that on Facebook like in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I love those. What's that? Time Hop or whatever you posted this thing 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it's like me talking about making a grilled cheese sandwich or something.
Yeah.
I'm just like, God. Okay, this is on a server somewhere.
If anyone
Forever.
wants to find a really depressing part of my life, find my old MySpace blog. Oof.
Oh, man. Yeah, Kevin's
Yeah.
asking for examples of the dumb stuff that you did. But should we
So
save it
one
for the
time,
show?
Sure.
Is
no,
this
I
not
mean,
the
no,
show?
it's all right. It's all right.
It's not the
It's
show.
all right. You can add this at the end. No, so one time, me and my friends, like, we were messing around. I was like, dude, no, Oklahoma's only like 45 minutes away from us. Like, we were arguing, and there was no such thing as Google Maps back then, so we couldn't check. So it was just asking people, how far away is Oklahoma from here? You know, like how close or how long until we could get
Didn't
to the
have
border of
MapQuest?
Oklahoma? No, dude, this was back in the day. This is like 9th or 10th grade, right? And so I was like, no, it's only 45 minutes away. And so they're like, no, it's like 3 hours away. It's only 45 minutes away, right? So we drive up there, and we're in the middle of the night. I was like, we finally get to the border with the big Oklahoma sign, and so we're taking pictures in front of it, right? And then I was like, all right, I'm gonna take a dump on the Oklahoma sign.
Oh my
So-
god.
I couldn't, but I ended up running around the Oklahoma sign.
So wait, you couldn't
completely
because
butt naked.
you didn't have to
No,
go?
I didn't have to go. Yeah, it was
Oh,
it was a
okay.
shame. It was a shame.
So you just
But I
ran
did
around
end up
naked.
running around the sign completely butt naked with the exception of just my shoes on, you know, my Converse. And so a buddy of mine took a picture of that and turned it into a button that he used to wear all the time.
Sweet.
A
Album
butt-
art?
a butt button.
What?
Album
A
art?
butt.
No. No, it's just
No,
yeah.
no, album art for this show.
Oh.
Oh, no. No.
Do you still have it somewhere?
No, I don't.
Hmm.
See, that's what I'm saying. I'm glad there was no Facebook when I was in school because that would have been posted, you know, or something like that.
That would
Right.
be a Slack emoji.
Oh
Right?
man.
It would be the replacement.
Brograph new shirt. That's
Yeah.
funny.
Oh boy.
All right.
Yeah, I ran around a lot of things naked when I was in my teens.
Oh man.
I missed that.
Right?
I missed that. Not I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not fondly recalling on things that I never did.
Yeah. I'm glad
Yeah.
that I missed that as well.
We used to make dry ice bombs all the time. That was always fun. You know.
All right. Let's do a show.
Where do you
Let's do
get
it.
dry ice?
You should go buy dry ice at a grocery store.
Is that a thing in Texas?
Like
Oh, yeah.
$20, 5 pounds.
Oh my. Okay.
And then you throw a bunch of it into like a little plastic bottle, and then you pour some water in there and cap it off and throw it, and it just boom. It's awesome.
Mhm. All right. Here we
Right.
go.
Yeah.
All right. What up, bros? Welcome to another Brograph Brocast. I'm Dave.
Matt, and joining us today is our good friend Billy Chitkin, also known by his online moniker as Gurnge.
Hi guys. Thanks for having me again.
And Brograph is a supplement to our site, brograph.com, which is a motion graphics tutorial site with tutorials, plugins, podcasts, and other MoGraph stuff. And on the show, we talk about everything ranging from motion graphics to Cinema 4D, After Effects, plugins, render engines, doing business, doing taxes, being a contractor, or working for the man. And you can email us, brograph@brograph.com. Let us know what you think about the show. Send in your topic ideas. We haven't gotten any good topic ideas or emails or feedback in a while, even in the Slack channel. So there is a channel on Slack called Show
Yeah,
Topic
come on,
Ideas.
guys. We're having to use our own brains in order to come up with
I
topic
know.
ideas.
Trying to crowdsource a little bit here.
Come on.
So if you have something, brograph@brograph.com, any stories or any, just tell us if you if you like the show or not. I saw some really good iTunes reviews the other day. I hadn't been down there in a while, and it's pretty fun. It was a guy talking about cracking up to our Zima story
Yeah,
while he was mowing the lawn.
that was a
So,
fun one.
yeah. So everybody send some stuff in. I'd like to hear a little bit back from the audience and kind of get feedback on what you want to hear, because I know we kind of just spew all this stuff out every week.
Slackers be slacker. That's funny.
So first thing I wanted to say, speaking of Slack, is if you're on the Slack, we have a gaming channel, and a lot of people in there, including us, have gotten Switches
Yeah,
for Christmas
switches
and
get
stuff.
stitches
And
in
so
Mario Kart.
we're gonna do a little gaming thing on Tuesday. It should be fun. And if you're used to our Slack channel, we have something called the bat signal, and that's kind of like an @channel notification that you get when we're going live. But now we also have a channel called Bat Signal Gaming. So if you subscribe to that, you'll hear about that. We're gonna try and do Tuesday night games, and the first one is coming up this weekend. It's gonna be Mario Kart, and then the next week is gonna be Smash.
When is this again?
Tuesday night.
Tuesday night, okay.
8 p.m. Central Time. Now, here's the thing. If we get more than 12 people in Mario Kart, obviously, you can only have 12 people. So what we'll do is in the channel...
I don't think we will.
If we get more than 12, we'll just say, okay, this person is starting a new thing. So if you go, there is a pinned deal on our gaming channel. You can go in there and you can find out what everybody else's friend code is. So if somebody under such and such friend code is starting like a second gaming channel, we'll kind of do that. And maybe as they fall off, if people are leaving, we'll go back to one room or whatever. But you can only have 12 people in a game. So
Wait, is this pinned in the gaming?
it should be pinned in gaming, yes.
Oh.
Pinned
Oh,
in
quick.
gaming.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so just
That's if you're on the Slack, though. Like,
if you're on the Slack. Yeah, you got to be a member of the Slack to get all this info. But if you are...
but you can't get on the Slack right now because it's closed.
Right. But like we said, if it's something where you really want to get in, you want to join in on the gaming, just email us. We'll get you taken care of.
Hit up one of us three. We'll get you in.
Yeah.
Yep.
So is that thread still there? I hope that thread's still there.
I see Switch player code thread,
I see it,
but
but then
for
it
some reason,
doesn't come
like
up.
I can't click on it.
I don't know why. I thought it didn't disappear if it's something that is pinned.
I thought so too.
Yeah, me too. We might have to do that again, but I don't know.
All right.
We'll figure that out later. But let's talk about some other things. First of all, this is just random, but you used Adobe Rush this week.
Oh yeah, I did.
And
Here's what's stupid.
kinda cool.
All right. Here's what makes me mad. Apple, you're stupid sometimes. Most times.
Just real quick for reference, that's the mobile like phone editing, video editing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the one from Adobe. You know,
Gotcha.
There's a desktop app too, but they sync together.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so if you're editing something on your desktop, you can just switch to your phone and continue editing.
What's super dumb is, so I went through and like I exported out this fun little animation of my zombie Abraham Lincoln doing the Thriller dance, you know, and I wanted to send it to a buddy of mine who helped us out on this thing a long time ago, and so I rendered it out, I saved it to Dropbox, and then I normally just go to Dropbox and save the video, you know, to my videos. But then when you try and send it to anyone, it fails every time. So I had to go then take that into Adobe Rush on my iPhone and re-export it out, and then it worked totally fine. It's like, I don't understand why
I'll tell you why.
Don't want to accept MPEG-4, H.264 file formats or whatever, or that specific file format.
I'll tell you why. It's because even when you're sending a clip off of your phone, it's re-encoding it to some sort of different codec to send to the other person, and so
which is okay.
It has problems converting that particular codec.
Well, that's dumb. That's super dumb. Because is H.264 Apple specific, or did they?
No, it's. I mean, everybody uses it. It's just that there's some sort of weird flavor and header and header and whatever it is on the file that just has to be a certain way in order for it to send. And so it can't convert whatever but different file that you put in there. So
it's definitely interesting. I mean, I didn't play around with it too much. Like the fact that I could just use it for converting a quick clip is very nice, you know.
Well, that's the thing. You take a little video or something and you just kind of want to chop it up real quick and throw it on Instagram or Facebook or something. You can do that in there really quick. I just kind of feel like the photo video app on the iPhone should just automatically have something like that. But
right, I totally agree.
But I like it because you can continue working on a different platform and it converts and saves and does whatever it does in the background for that project. So you just open it up and your clips are there from your phone or whatever. It's not like you have to manage the media. It's just kind of there.
Yeah, and it's free if you've got an Adobe subscription, I believe.
Yeah.
So there you go. Worth a try.
Also, I thought this was funny. I think I showed you, I may have talked about it, about this misleading ad that's been going around on Facebook where it's a stupid phone magnification thing.
Yeah, you sent it to me. It's really dumb.
It's showing this little magnifying glass that goes and like hits a mirror, and then it can see your phone, you know, and it makes it look like it's a big screen version of your phone. But as they're turning it in the clip, it looks it is so incredibly fake. Like, it's I mean, it's a scam because it doesn't look like that at all.
What's like, anyone who grew up with a Game Boy and used one of those magnifying adapters, they know that's going to be fake.
It's a bunch of crap. And so I actually reported it on Facebook, and they sent me a thing saying they took the ad down.
Good for you.
And then I saw another version of it the next day. So, man,
really?
Of these ads on Facebook just for garbage stuff,
dude.
Just for
and
absolute
that's
garbage.
Half my feed was filled with, like, Facebook nowadays is not as good as it was back in my day when we had Facebook. You know, like it was much better. It's like, and the same with Twitter. It was much better, and Instagram was much better because you got every single thing like as it came. You know. And things weren't shoved right back up to the top if someone, you know, commented or whatever. It's basically just a stream of consciousness, and that's good, you know. But then the selective stuff and only showing me people who, like, they don't show me everyone. They only show me most people who I interact with.
Right.
But then I don't think Facebook realizes they're creating a big, like, there's already enough animosity in this world because people are so like, right, exactly. You know, and if you're just doing that, if you're only showing the people who you agree with all the time or whatever, then you're only going to have those opinions all the time. I don't know. It's so stupid. I hate Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other things, Razer products, man. I really want to like Razer products. I really do. And I'm trying.
You know what? Here's the thing. You abuse the crap out of everything you buy. Like all your electronics, you abuse them like
How do I
crazy. You
abuse my
put them through
keyboard
a
and
ringer.
mouse? I mean, they're just sitting here on
No,
the desk.
your laptop, you use that straight as your main machine for like a year.
And I did, and it worked really well. My first gripe with Razer was the fact that I had that original laptop for 2.1 months, and I think the warranty was for 2 months.
Yeah.
And the hard drive completely died. Like died. It was gone. And they had to replace it, but they had to do an RMA. They couldn't just send me a new one because it was like 1 day out of the warranty.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well maybe this is just a fluke. So I got it. It was fine after that. Everything was fine. The problem is the battery starts to blow up after a while. And Mac products do that too, but it keeps getting
honestly
bigger
think
and
it was
bigger.
because you were using it so much. Like I don't use it as I didn't use it for my daily forever, and mine still is in like tip-top shape, you know.
Well, I'm sure that's why.
It's I'm traveling and I need to be able to do Octane or Redshift,
But it has a 1060 in it, and it's just like that's the reason it's blowing up, you know. And I went through a power supply that burnt up, and I got another power supply, and that one has burnt up as well. It like frays. It's like it gets too hot and the gauge isn't correct on the cable, and so it starts to fray and burn and smoke, and it's like okay. So got rid of that.
I'm also very particular about how I wrap my cables with my stuff. I don't just like throw them into a bag, like I know you do sometimes.
And I've been really good about this power supply because I didn't want to fray it in that little corner again. So I've been very careful with it, and it did it again. It's just from heat. That's really all it is. That little corner, it just gets too hot. And so I'm like, all right, well, $119 later, I've got a third power supply on the way. And the next day I'm sitting here working with my Razer mouse, and all of a sudden the button's kind of out of whack. I was in Premiere. I just clicked on something. I was like, what is going on? And I couldn't figure out how to lodge the button back in. Then it turns out it actually cracked. So on the mouse itself, the mouse is actually one big piece of plastic. And so when it cracked, it literally just split across the plastic. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. This is an expensive mouse.
What did you replace it with?
I replaced it with another Razer mouse. The thing is, I really liked the mouse. I really liked how it felt. And so I found this new one. You could basically get it in the same configuration as my old mouse, but it has these other things. This is the Naga Trinity, and what's cool about this, for those watching live, is it has the little dealie on the side where you can do different buttons or whatever, but it's magnetic, and it comes off. And so you have all of these different sides that you could just plop on. Like, I mean, it's really for gaming, but, you know, you could use this to create shortcuts, you know.
I saw that, I was a big user of the Naga style mouse. Pre-Mograph, I was way too into World of Warcraft, and having all of those buttons, I blew out probably 2 or 3 of those mice. But that's because I'm clicking tens of thousands of buttons a night over the course of a few hours, and I'm doing that for months on end. So of course the thing's gonna give out. Love the mouse. There was almost no functionality like it on any other, like Logitech, Corsair. The story is different nowadays, but you know, from 09 to like 2012 or whatever, it was the only mouse like that. And then they came out with the different shaped ones. The one that you use is the grid of 12, which I like because more buttons equals more shortcuts. But they also had the Hex, I think, was like a circular 6-button dealio, and then there was another one with maybe like 2 or 3, I think.
2, yeah. There's this one here with the 2 buttons. I don't know if you can see the 2 buttons. And then this one, the circle, this is what was on my old mouse, but it was permanent. You couldn't swap it out. So kind of fun.
Are those all adapters that you can swap out?
Yeah, you can put any of these on the thumb.
Neat. That's super cool.
Yeah, instead of $75 for this mouse, it's not too bad.
Instead of them being entirely separate mice, because the Naga 12-button one, once they started coming out with these multiple versions, that became like $100 SKU or whatever.
Yeah.
I think the last one that I bought in maybe 2014 was about that much. and I wound up buying it off of eBay because I think at some point they switched the model. There was like the very curvy, sort of more elegantly shaped one, and then at some point they updated it and they got a little bit more like blocky, sort of chunky shaped. I liked the old style, and it just eventually it became too hard to find. And I've since switched to the vertical, like ergonomic mice.
Oh,
the ones
yeah.
that like.
How do you like that?
I mean, I need to use it because of my like forearm and wrist. I get the feeling that tennis elbow people describe.
Okay, yeah, I can
you know,
see that. I'm like trying it out with my hand, and that feels like it could be a lot better.
Yeah, so just I mean, I can demonstrate it real quick to camera. So like when you hold the mouse and you're using it, hopefully it's like you're more like this as opposed to a mouse like this. You're more like kind of this guy.
It's like a 45-degree angle.
Yeah.
What is the tennis elbow thing? What is the pain you're talking about? In the elbow?
You're like, I've had this my whole life.
No.
So like as you get close to your elbow, like if you just hold your arm out and you do like a finger clench motion, look at your elbow all the way, and you'll see the tendon, or maybe you may or may not be able to see the tendon or the musculature actually sort of moving. It's right at the kind of the corner of your elbow, where all that stuff kind of connects back up, along your forearm. And I mean, I'm only 27, but I've been using a computer virtually all my life.
Yeah.
And regardless of my age, I've put in enough miles and enough hours on the computer that this is something that I have to contend with. And
right. The older you get.
Yeah, and I know there's like finger stretch exercises, and there's a little bit of physiotherapy that you can do to kind of stem this off. Which, if you are a listener and you're starting to get cramped up mouse hand, but you don't want to switch to a Wacom tablet, I would look into the vertical or ergonomic mice. I have a cheap one because I bought it like a year ago, and I was like, I don't know if this is going to work or not. I only wanted to buy like a $20 one as opposed to getting a nice like $80 or $100 one. But it seems like I might want to upgrade to a nicer one. This one uses like AAA batteries, which is just complete. I mean, it's that cheap.
Yeah.
it's kind of a pain. At this point, I have like a stack of dead batteries on my desk, and I actually had to switch back because we just got a snowstorm and I ran out of batteries.
Oh, that's funny.
And I haven't wanted to leave the house because it's under 10 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
So I've been using a regular mouse for all of 48 hours, and I can feel my elbow. Like, I can feel it already. So yeah, go ahead.
I've got the Logitech G703. Like, I really like this mouse, and like it's coupled with the Power Play, so it's like the pad, the pad that is a wireless charger. And like I didn't like it at first, but then once I actually I couldn't get it to work well. Then I realized that you have to actually like set it up and like tell it how you work. Calibrate it. And once I did that, like I haven't even it's amazing. My only gripe with it is the way I hold it, it's like this part right here at the end is wearing away because of where my pinky goes.
Oh, weird.
Which is pretty funny.
I should look at my old one and see. Who was it? S76 Motion Graphics said, why don't you use a graphics tablet? I think, like me personally, I tried a graphics tablet for quite a while, and I really made myself use it, and I used it for almost a year. And one of the, I understand why a graphics tablet is good and why it can be beneficial, and I really liked it in certain circumstances, but there were also circumstances where I felt like it was slowing me down. Because I'm so decent with a mouse just from doing it my whole life that there's some stuff I can get done really quick in Cinema 4D. For example, hitting the little traffic light buttons in Cinema 4D, for render and editor. And that's so hard to hit with a pen. And I was getting I really don't like using Cinema 4D with a pen. I just don't. So I do. Back.
I really like using Photoshop with a pen.
See, that's good. See, that's a good example.
See, the reason I would have a Wacom tablet, no problem. They're just, a little expensive, and I can't justify the $400 price tag when I can very easily use my mouse. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
If I had a Wacom tablet, I'd be using it all the time because I really like them. I always have.
Have you ever used one, Billy?
Yeah, I gave myself, it was between 1 and 2 weeks where I this was when I was full time at a studio. There was like a spare one, or somebody went on vacation or something, and I had a period where I could use one without needing to get my boss to like buy it or whatever, which was, that was kind of a hard task at the time, and I just didn't like navigating. I use Alt and the left, right, and middle click on the mouse. I know some people use 1, 2, and 3 to move around.
I use 1, 2, 3.
But I mean, I use Alt in the mouse buttons because I learned Maya, and that's how you navigate in Maya, and that's just how I work. And to me, that was unnatural, using because when
1,
you
2, 3s.
Well, yeah, I tried going to 1, 2, 3, but the problem is I've hotkeyed 1, 2, 3, and 4 to be object select, edge select, poly select, point select.
Right.
That's smart. Yeah.
And like for me, going without those hotkeys plus the uncomfortability of needing to learn a new interface, a new navigation interface, I was just like, I don't know how long it's going to take for this to pay off to be an improvement.
Right.
It could be 2 weeks instead of 1 week. It could be 4 months. Who knows? I just decided to kind of go back, and I've always used the mouse because I use 1 through 4 to do the selection modes, and then I use Command or Control 1 to 3 to do solo, like off,
cool,
single, and hierarchy.
I like that
because like I said earlier, my background of playing World of Warcraft for 400,000 hours a day, I can hit 1 through equal sign on the keyboard without needing to look. I can hit every single button on the row, and I can do that with certain modifier keys. Like I can hit anywhere from tilde all the way down to the N button. If you look at your keyboard, I can hit the whole left half of the keyboard with my left hand without looking, and I can do that with modifiers like Shift or Control or Alt or whatever. And I like how can I function if I take half of that hotkey ability away?
Right.
It's that gaming thing. That's why my orbit is backwards all the time. It's always reversed in cinema because I'm used to playing video games that way.
Oh, you're an inverted up and down.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
That's because Red Faction, when it came out, it was my first person multi-shooter, and it was defaulted inverted. So, with my experience playing flight simulator games, I kind of was okay with that. And so I just stuck with that, and it's always been like that. And for rotate, I use Alt. For panning, I use 2, and then for zooming in and out, I use the scroller wheel. So I don't really use 1, 2, I guess I use just 2.
I'm just 1, 2, 3. I'm all 1, 2, 3. I really like that I can just use one, like the left click the entire time, and I'm so used to just 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's easy to me.
You almost forget.
But I do understand.
I do
totally get. Yeah. I mean, if you ask me which one is which, I don't think I could actually tell you.
Right.
I just know it. Yeah.
I can't either, and I have to teach 20 students a semester like how to navigate in 3D for the first time, because I teach an intro to 3D class. Presumably I have to assume they've never touched 3D software before when they're in my class, and
cool.
we spend like one of the whole first days like learning that. I'm like, it's going to take a while. You guys have they've taken a Photoshop class as a prereq to get into my class, so I'm like, you guys can navigate in a 2D canvas. In Photoshop, you really only just need to hold the spacebar down.
Yeah.
And that pans you around everywhere.
Yeah.
So I start them with the pan tool, which is the middle click.
Yeah.
Because I teach them Alt and then 1, 2, and 3, but I also tell them they can use 1, 2, and 3. And yeah, I'm like, they're like, which ones rotate? And I'm like,
I don't know. Just hit them for a while until something happens.
I have to stop and like envision myself, like close my eyes, imagine using the computer, or I grab like the keyboard and mouse from their hands and say like, "Can I drive?" Real quick, and then I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's what button this is." Or they're like, "Hey, I'm trying to use the extrude tool or whatever," and it's just like, "Okay, that's
D.
That's D, right?"
Yeah.
Because I don't look at the keyboard when I'm hitting the button.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I know how
That's
far.
funny because I look at the keyboard every single time I have to hit a keyboard shortcut because I have to specifically remember. Like I am so used
PC
to just going up
instead
and
of
doing
Mac.
everything.
Yeah.
You know, like the only one that I know really well is extrude and inner extrude. You know.
Oh, because they have their own dedicated. I call those the hottest keys because it's like, there's the M quick menu, which has like a bunch of
stuff.
tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, so it's like extrude and inner extrude are in the M menu. I think it's MT and M something else, but I don't
know what. No, extrude is just D.
Right.
Inner extrude is MW.
Well, inner extrude is I.
Is it?
Oh, nice.
Yeah. at least on the default key bindings.
That's funny. I didn't know that.
How we got to come up with a fun way to remember these shortcuts. Like, we'll do one every week or something. And almost like Sesame
Your
Street.
weekly keyboard shortcut.
Yeah.
So
Brought
I'm
to you
I'm
by
actually,
the letter M for extrude.
Oh, that's
or
good.
something like that's
I
not
like
really it wouldn't be the letter M, but you know what I'm saying.
that's fun,
right?
and I'm actually a really big proponent of that. I forget the word, but it's when you think of some sort of word or something else to relate something that you're trying to memorize.
Moniker, or no, it's yeah, I don't know.
Oh,
Go ahead.
But there's a term for that, and so when you're moving something around or rotating in Cinema 4D, there's the axis, like there's the world or the object axis that you can switch between which coordinate system it's on.
W.
And that's W, and the icon looks like a little globe when it's lit up. And I'm like, this is a world
device. Thank you, Kevin.
Mnemonic. There you go.
mnemonic device. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. So I'm like, okay, W. It looks like a globe. Another word for globe is world. W starts with world, or world starts with W.
Yeah.
That's how we remember this hotkey.
Okay.
I just remember it because it's next to ERT, which are the other tools up there.
Yeah.
And W has the world, but then
R is rotation, T is transform, E is
And Q.
everybody move now. I don't know.
Q is another hotkey as well. Q will turn on or off a generator at the top of your hierarchy. So for what I mean by that is a generator is things. Generators are the green objects in Cinema 4D. So like symmetry, connect, subdivision surface, etc. So like if you're working on a model and like a subdivision surface, like a high poly model, and you're flipping back and forth between the SDS or the hypernerbs being on and off, you can just hit Q to do that. Same thing with symmetry or like a sweep nerb.
Yeah.
If you're making like a wire or something and you're drawing out a spline and then you've got that in a sweep nerb, you can hit Q, turn it off, go tweak the points or whatever, hit Q, turn it back on, check your work, etc.
And the L key,
I remember
because the L key looks just like the axis thing.
Yeah.
So the icon.
Okay.
That one's easy to remember.
I say that one. Yeah, this is I call it an anchor point. I know it's called the axis, but I just say anchor point because my students are going to be more familiar with the term anchor point from Photoshop.
Yeah.
At least in the beginning, early on in the class, I'm trying to relate as much as I can to Photoshop because that's the only base that I know that they have. Some students may have used Blender or like a CAD program in high school or something, but that's all out of my control. So I relate as much of it as I can. I call it the pen tool, and it's like it's not P. There actually isn't a hotkey for the pen tool. But there's like all of those different quick menus. There's M, N, and then U for the different display modes, which are all really handy.
And S, which I talked about, I think on the last episode or the episode before. S is your best friend. I always say 1, 2, 3 ERT when I teach somebody Cinema 4D for the first time, and then so 1, 2, 3 ERT, and then S are going to be like your immediate go-to, must know. Whether it's a variation on 1, 2, 3 or whatever, but still like that S key, man. It's all about S.
That's frame selected when you're moused over the viewport, right?
Yeah.
And then when you're moused over the object manager, it's scroll to first active.
Yeah,
Exactly. And
Which
so,
will-
yeah. Sorry.
which
go ahead.
which if you're unfamiliar with what those commands are, scroll to first active will open up your hierarchy, your objects list. It will unbury and it will dig all the way down to the object you have selected, or the tag, or what, material, whatever you have selected.
Yeah, and I didn't mention that because not only is it great for just picking something up out of a scene and hitting it and going bam right there to what you want to work on, but if there's something in a scene you're like, oh my gosh, where did I bury that in the object manager?
Yeah,
if you click
yeah.
on it in the scene and then you put your mouse over the object manager and hit S, it's going to come right up. And that's
like,
how I navigate through all my crazy complicated scenes.
I like when I'm working in like the dope sheet or something.
I was going to say that too.
And like
yeah.
if I get like too far zoomed out or too far zoomed in, if you just Control A to select all your points and hit S, it'll zoom them all back into into view.
Control
It's pretty
A,
great.
S, and then everything's right there. And then you right click on the left side of that dope sheet and you say collapse all, and then it's nice and compact.
Yep.
H is useful in the dope sheet as well. H is frame all, which I think of as home, like H for home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I just always do select all and then hit S.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I mean everyone's got their thing. If you're selecting all and then framing what you have selected, that's equivalent to selecting or to framing all. But another useful trick is if you have something selected, or if you know what something's called in the hierarchy, but you don't know where it is, or you forgot, or whatever, maybe you're opening up into an old project file, you can type in the little search bar, you can click the magnifying glass, start typing in the name. It will filter the name to the piece that you want. You can select it and then click off the magnifying glass and then hit S, and it will open you back up to the full hierarchy. Say you can't find it in the scene but you know what it's named, you can
You can do
type
that,
in the little
Sometimes
Right.
I name things like that on purpose. Like if I have, let's say, like 10 nulls and they all have some similar things in them, and they all have this one little option in them that I'm going to have to go change throughout the piece, I'll give it a very unique name. So instead of like cube or something, I mean, I try to name things anyway.
I just
but I'll give them a
keep
unique
I
name.
name everything cube, even if it's
Yeah,
a
you do.
cylinder.
Yeah, even the nulls are cubes.
Yeah.
Cube. So then if I'm looking to change those settings, I know I can type in that unique name. I'll put that into the search and they all come up and select. The only thing you have to remember when you're doing that is you have to click and do a shift click to select them all, or just drag around them and select them all, because if you do Control A, it selects everything. Like literally everything, even if you don't see it in there.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So anyway, that was a fun
That was a fun rant.
Yeah, I've been using the search bar trick a lot because I'm working on this big thing. It's got lots of tiny little details in it, and a lot of those are being instanced and reused throughout the scene to be conscious of GPU memory and just the viewport performance itself. So it's like I've got tiny bolt like hex, and I've got tiny bolt round, or Torx bit or whatever, which are just different types of screws, whatever. That's not really necessarily important, but being able to find those, or say, because I'm also collaborating with people, for example, if somebody copy and pasted something back into another file, but what the piece they had, if they copied it and it was using instanced sections of some of these details, when it copies back in, it will break that, because when it was copied, it didn't know. It got copied with the instances, not with the original object. So,
Right.
The little instance icon turns red in the object manager, and I'm like, oh, okay, I need to go find hex bolt tiny, and then go filter that in my little search bar, select that thing, click off the search bar, and then select my instances and redrag it, back into the little slot.
And we need like a whole tutorial on like navigation tips or something like that for this kind of thing.
There's so much, and I would honestly love to do like a presentation or something even on that, because I use the V key, that's the global pop-up, and I did a tutorial way back maybe 4 or 5 years ago at our local MoGraph group here in Michigan, showing like how you can use this menu and how you can customize it. Because I know most people used Shift C to find things like reset PSR. And if you think about it, you hit Shift C and then you have to type, you can type reset, but you also can just type PSR. But the tricky thing with that is if you have Signal installed as well, there's a Signal script that is called PSR. And that usually, just typing PSR, in my case, I found that the Shift C button likes to default to the GSG version of the PSR command as opposed to the real PSR command. So then I have to grab my mouse and do another input. So all of a sudden, this became like a 4-button plus a mouse situation to activate this one command. Whereas with the global pop-up key, if you have Cinema 4D open, if you hit V as in Victor on your keyboard, you'll get this little pop-up that will center around where your mouse is, and they'll have all these different menus, and you can actually tell what you want to be in each of those menus. You can take out what's in those, and then you can put your own stuff in there. So, for example, my up direction, by default, I think it's the solo modes, like solo, on, off, hierarchy, etc. Because I have those hotkeyed, I don't need those to be in that menu anymore. So I replaced the up direction with really useful things like reset PSR, polygon groups to objects, or polygon objects to groups, which is like if you have a dense model that represents as only one object in the hierarchy, but you know it's actually been combined of multiple pieces, it will basically like break it back out into its separate shells, which is nice. That's really useful in the context of the big project I'm working on. Sometimes I'm getting CAD data, sometimes I'm not, sometimes it's a stock model. If it's been collapsed, this is a really good way to break it back apart. There's another command that's the same function but for splines called explode segments, I think. I forget the name because I just pick it, just in my hotkey. But if you have a spline that is comprised of multiple splines and you need them to be separated or whatever, this will do that same command. So
cool.
That's a handful of, like, these are all really useful things that it doesn't warrant its own tutorial. Like, what is the explode object?
Its own button, sitting there all the time. You don't need it docked. Like, most people will probably have PSR docked and, like, create a null or reset the anchor point, like center axis 2 or whatever. I've gotten to the point where I don't really have many buttons docked to my interface because I have so many of them keybound and so many of them inserted into my global pop-up menu. Because if you think about it, what's faster if your mouse is like over the viewport and you're working on a model, going all the way up to your shelf and clicking a button, or hitting a button that is connected to your mouse?
Right. That makes sense. I should start putting those on my little 12 button.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. That's a really good idea. I occasionally hit that button on accident, and I'm like, I don't need that.
Oh my God.
It's like Maya.
I know it's like the is it called the hotbox in Maya? I think it's the space bar.
Hotbox and something else.
Well, to Maya people, it's a huge, it's a full screen takeover of every button and every interface in the whole program. It's pretty wild. But it's something that I can't function without. That's how I switch all of my layouts. I've got a modeling layout, I've got a UV mapping layout, I've got my render engine layouts that have like different docks and stuff. I don't want to dig all the way up into the corner and go click the change layout button. I just want to hit V and then go left. And that's my list of layouts. It also has like my Redshift lights and my Redshift camera and stuff that I do specific to render engines. And then
that's very smart, yeah.
And then right is like my plugins menu for things like Signal, Forester, etc.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah.
I do a lot of things too where it's temporary. So, like if you put buttons up, if you do Shift C, you can drag that button up to the top of your menu right from there. And if you save that layout, it saves from then on. But I only have a handful of things there. I have like center parent 2. I've got selection, access center, things like that, set selection, things that I use a lot. But if it's something, let's say I'm going to use the bridge tool and I'm going to use it a whole bunch in the next hour, for just one project, I'll drag that up there. And then the next time you open Cinema 4D, it's gone if you don't save it. So I do stuff like that where I'm like, you know what, I'm going to use this button a whole bunch of times. I don't want to map it to something per se right now, but I just want it available instead of having to hit Shift-C every time. That's kind of a good hack too.
Yeah.
So
There's also a number of hotkeys that are found in the right-click menu when you're right-clicking on objects on the objects list, like connect objects plus delete, or
yeah,
what's the other one that's kind of similar to it?
I think I have
Convert to a
connect and
limbic or something. There's the convert to a limbic and delete or whatever.
There's something else.
That's
but
current
R20.
state to object.
yeah,
State to
that's
object,
that's a current state to object, and then connect objects plus delete. I have those assigned to modifiers of the backspace button or
Okay.
delete, because I have a fancy mechanical keyboard where backspace and delete are the same button because I don't have the right section area where your arrows would be.
Right.
Oh, okay. You don't have the numbers and all that.
No,
So
I've
how
got
do you navigate up and down?
I've got a tiny little keyboard.
Oh, it's so pretty.
Tiny.
So how do you do up, down, left, and right?
There are embedded number. If I get really close, I don't know. It's hard to go
okay,
left.
underneath.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like I hit a button on my keyboard, and then those toggle to be arrow keys, and then I do my arrow key business, and then I hit my toggle, and then it's back to being J, K, L, and I.
Is that one of the mechanical keyboards that you can buy or that you can custom build yourself?
Correct.
Or is it neat?
Not
Cool.
I didn't custom build this, but I ordered this with cherry clear switches, which are kind of like browns if you've used browns. They're not loud like blues, but they're a little bit heavier than browns.
That stuff intrigues me. I'm sure that the subreddit on that is just a wealth of information.
Oh yeah, the
I
mechanical
follow
keyboard
it. It's
subreddit.
really cool. It's very cool.
It's also like a photography website because it's one of those really nerdy hobbies where people probably get into it if they're at a point in life where they've got some disposable income.
They're
Chances are
expensive.
they have a nice camera as well, and people who have fancy keyboards like taking photos of their fancy keyboard.
Yeah.
So that's the fun thing.
I saw somebody's the other day. They had an entire lighted display full of all their keyboards that they've custom made. And it's like, dude, like that's got to be so expensive. The ones that kind of they'll break apart left and right, split kind of all that.
I've got a friend who mographs for a mechanical keyboard company.
Ooh, that's fun.
It's funny.
Shout out to Todd. I think the company is at Rama, RAMA dot period works. So if they do cool MoGraph, he's done some animated renders. You know how like nowadays phone animations have like swishy, swirly, flippy phones, and they're doing all that fun stuff like a la Google and Apple. He does that, but like with keyboards. They're pretty dope.
That's rad.
But
yeah, the
back
subreddit, geez, it's beautiful.
Yeah. But back on the hotkey topic, I was doing a job where I was making basically like a switch panel. It's something I'll be able to post really shortly. We did it a year ago, but I was getting people who are drawing things in Illustrator, laying out circles and stroked buttons and, doing all that thing in Illustrator. They were saving it out, and I was importing those splines, and I needed to develop something that I could quickly or as quickly as possible turn all of these into pieces of geometry using the extrude object. So I've found a sequence of hotkeys that I liked, because basically you need to take the spline, separate the spline, find the specific spline you want, put that into an extrude object, and then take that extrude object, collapse it down in do current state to object or whatever, and then optimize it. Because if you optimize a cylinder, the caps and the cylinder portion aren't connected. And then once it's optimized, cool, I've got one solid piece of geometry, and now I can model this and I can do all the specific little details that I need to. So I found this sequence of hotkeys that I liked, where it was I do my V global pop-up menu to get to the explode segments, and then I select the thing. I hit Alt-C, which I turned into Select Children, because by default that doesn't have a hotkey. Put that into an extrude object, and then I do Alt plus Delete, which is current state to object, and then Control plus Delete, which is what's the other one? Connect objects plus delete.
Yeah.
So it was like I did all the sequence. It's like, I looked like a professional StarCraft player,
Right.
hitting like 18 buttons in a sequence. But then by the end of it, I got this really nice, connected, fully set up piece of geometry that, okay, cool, I can go and do my bevels and I can add all
That's
this,
funny.
really detailed stuff that I would need to.
But can
I
you
needed
macro those though? Can you macro those 3 keys to another key?
You could if you follow my crappy Python scripting tutorial, you could open up the console and open up the script manager, and you could watch yourself doing this sequence of commands,
Oh,
copy and
nice.
paste that into a new script. Now, I can't guarantee that this is going to work because I only know how to copy and paste Python. I don't know Python. So if there's
Contrary
specific,
to popular belief, right?
yeah, contrary to how many times I get added in Slack, I don't know Python. But I love that
funny.
people have followed the tutorial and hopefully they get something out of it. But yes, in theory, you could boil all of that down into a macro, or you could use a dedicated macro program like AutoHotkey, which is just, that's not a Cinema 4D thing, it's a computer thing.
Or if you have a Razer keyboard and mouse, their Synapse tools that control the lighting and all that will do macros.
Yeah, our lovely friend Synapse 3.0, the best software.
Oh, Synapse is
man.
awful.
I
So
know.
bad.
I know.
I sure do like playing with the LED stuff though.
I don't even know. Do I think I just uninstalled it from my computer altogether.
Dude, you could make it access your gaming stuff so that the ambient of your game changes the colors on your keyboard, which also changes the color of the general lighting of your Philips Hue lights in your room.
Right.
Like, there's so much
So
fun,
dumb.
ridiculous, pointless stuff you can do like that, but
Yeah, I've
fun.
got the 2016 Razer, and I never installed Synapse, so it just by default cycles through the normal RGB kind
Right.
of spectrum, just on its own 20-second or 30-second time situation. And for years, I had that laptop, and my roommate was like, "Dude, that thing is so annoying. Like sometimes it's pink, and then all of a sudden it's blue, and then it's green, and then a few months ago he went freelance as well, and I recommended." Him to get a 2018 Razer for his on-site freelancing needs. And within minutes, he was in there and he was setting it up so when he hit a button, it would radiate a color outwards and then it would leave another
I
color
did that this
behind.
week.
And,
It's so dumb. It's
and I was
so
like,
dumb.
okay, you like your
You
color
want to talk about
keyboard.
annoying
Yeah.
lighting? Yeah.
yeah, I did that the other day for about 5 minutes and then I turned it off.
Yeah.
Because it was really
See,
cool.
I've got-
You can place where all your stuff is on the desk. So I have it set so where my mouse is, if you click on a button, it radiates into the keyboard. When you click it, and I turned it all off. I did do my QWERTY as one color, and my caps and stuff another color, and my numbers another color, but that's about it.
See, I just have it. Yeah, it's the same. So what stinks is that my Logitech mouse and the Power Play or whatever, they change color, but they don't stay the same color as my Razer keyboard. They're
They
always
get out of sync.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
That's funny.
So but they're always changing to a different color. That's how I've got it. I don't really care about doing anything differently.
Yeah, it's just kind of a gimmick that's fun to play with every once in a while.
Yeah.
Express
It's
your
the
friends.
It's the RGB equivalent of when you're stopped in traffic and everyone is in the turning lane and everyone's blinkers are going
Yeah.
at different
Yeah.
intervals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny.
And you wait
That's
because
the,
you know that they'll sync up eventually.
My Razer laptop, I don't have any of it on. I don't like having the lighting on, or if I do, it's just one solid white color.
That's something that bugs me about their laptops anyway, because the number keys do not light up the secondary shift or whatever. So if you're in the dark, even if the lights are on, you still can't see. Wait, is that $sign or percentage?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I got
kind
what
of
you're saying.
annoying.
Yeah.
So
That was fun.
let's
we just killed an hour.
There's half the
right?
show. There's half the show right there. All
We
right.
always do have to show in the week wrap up, right? But I got 2 more things. First of all, don't forget that NAB preparations are starting. There's a lot of
Yes.
cool stuff going on.
Yes. And actually, while we're at it, I've got this pinned. Go ahead, Dave. I'll find it.
So if you're in the Slack, there's talk going on in the different channels. In the events channel, there are some private channels if you end up hooking up with some of the people that are going to be going to the different events. Like Liam, he set something up for, I guess, everybody who's staying with them in Vegas, like doing air bro and bees, that kind of stuff.
Hopefully, are we doing a show again while we're there? I'm hoping
sure,
we can do the same thing we did last year, where we just get a whole bunch of people together, because that was really fun. That was
awesome.
one of my favorite shows.
That was Monday night. That's after the Media Motion Ball. That seems to be a good night to do that. So
yeah, because Media Motion Ball's got just kind of
meh.
You know,
you need something to come back. You know.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a fun thing.
Okay.
Because the rest of the week is usually pretty crazy. But
if you're coming to NAB, or if you're not sure, go ahead and do this. Go online and use the code LV. So that's like Las Vegas, 3524 for a free exhibit only badge, so that you don't have to pay for the exhibits or anything. You can go in, you can talk to the vendors, whatever, and you get in for free. So do that now.
Because last year was my first NAB. I was unclear about all the different tiers and all the different packages and stuff. If you're in that boat, an exhibits only badge gets you onto the floor.
Yes.
And the floor is where all of the different booths are.
Yes.
That is probably 90% or more of everything to do.
I have never paid for anything else. Like, I have only done the exhibit only badge, because you still if you want to go all out and like actually go to classes and stuff like that, that's cool. Whatever. If that's what you want to do, or if your company's paying for it. But honestly, I always used NAB as a way to get up to date to either the newest versions of software, because normally Adobe like updates their software or has new updates coming out like shortly after, where they're showing off the new stuff. So I would always spend my time there learning about the new stuff, as well as seeing what's coming up from all the different vendors.
Yeah, that's pretty much all.
You don't need anything other than the exhibit only badge.
Shoot, I'll tell you, the last two NABs.
We haven't left the Max.
We haven't left the Max on booth at all, and so that gets you on the floor. Look, if you're looking to go to NAB on a budget, that's how you do it. Use a code. Get your free tickets, then go to something like Southwest Airlines travel packages and just see what you can get, because Vegas, they just want you to come and gamble. So you could get something along the lines of $800. You can get yourself a ticket and a hotel for a week.
Yeah. No, the cheapest I've found, like if you want to stay on the strip, like you've got ones like all the way at the south end or all the way at the north end that are like $400. That's a round trip and your hotel. If you want to stay slightly off the strip, it can get even lower than that.
And honestly, you'll be hanging out at all the parties and all that. You don't have to worry about a hotel.
You'll have resort fees as well, which I think are normally around $30 a night. A day. Yeah. Well, so make sure to keep that in mind whenever you're booking. But you can do Vegas for so cheap, And Dave and I, we've done Vegas for super duper cheap before.
Even if you want to rent a car, it's you could now it's not as it is next to nothing, but now it's not as big of a savings, because it used to be that you could park at the hotel
everywhere. You have to pay for parking now everywhere, so it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Just take the if you're looking to save some money, you could stay at one of the ones close to the monorail, and just take the monorail to the convention center as well, right? And so NAB is going to be fun. It's going to be a very, very big party. There's I don't know if they're doing the G-Rant says, are we doing a limo this year? We might. Yeah,
you never know.
Depends on if we can get some of these invoices paid.
Right.
We can get some of the invoices paid. Yeah, dude, we'll go all out. But the Sunday night they've been doing, last year they did the big MoGraph meetup, which was awesome. So I would recommend getting in before Sunday night so that you can go to that. Monday is the Media Motion Ball, which is okay, I guess.
But it's also our live podcast recording.
It's also the live podcast recording. Yeah. Afterwards. Tuesday night is the pinball party. Wednesday night.
What is Wednesday night?
Wednesday night, Maxon normally takes us to like some event
Like,
or something, and then we all go and gamble till
Oh, that's
3 or 4 in the morning.
At night usually.
That
Wednesday
is-
is
yeah, that's the gambling.
What
night.
is it? What some Royale?
Casino Royale.
Casino
Yeah.
Royale night.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
normally go there afterwards and we gamble it. We basically close the craps table down.
Oh, I skipped that
So-
last year. I was so burnt out. I was
Yeah,
just dead.
dude. I know.
I was like, I'm sorry, guys.
There's some other stuff on Wednesday night. I know if you're a little bit more on the After Effects side, there's a thing called Mocart,
Yep.
Yeah.
which I think JC Tecklenburg runs, and usually some of the After Effects crowd participate in that. So
Yep.
that's I think it's at a cart to cart or some other go kart place.
That's fun.
And there's usually one or two other things I think that pop up. Usually Wednesdays, like people have mostly presented, people are starting to kind of let loose, and
hmm
they're ready for NAB to be over, so they're
Yeah.
going out with one last hurrah.
Yeah.
From what I can tell.
If we end up doing the limo, it'll be after the pinball party. And so,
If
like
we
last
do,
year, if we do, I mean,
And I have a
that was
feeling
a
if we do, we
killer
might have to have
limo.
2 limos. But
Yeah, I know, right? We jam packed
Yeah.
so many people in that limo last year.
yeah, we need
And it
to
was like-
find that same place if we do
I
it
know.
again.
I know.
That was
it
the
was
best
like a
limo.
straight up like SUV, like
Strip club
a
limo.
giant. It was ridiculous. It was
Yeah.
so big. It fit 32 people.
And we
Yeah.
packed
Anyway,
it. We
we
packed
did.
it. I
We did.
think
That
we
was-
have to plan ahead on the liquor though, so we don't make the limo have to stop at the liquor store. 'Cause
Right.
Just waste time.
We could stop ahead of time before we go to the
Yeah.
whatchamacallit.
Yeah.
Have Sage get some
I know that was great.
Caribbean rum.
Yeah. And also, I would like to know. I know some people responded already in the events channel on Slack. Is the MDC meetup? They did add Andrew Kramer. I feel like it was a little unclear that what exactly was going on, because it was posted that Andrew Kramer is doing this European tour and one of the stops
Right.
is London, but it doesn't say MDC on it. So
Right.
even
Right,
Liam
right,
this
right.
morning on Monday meeting was like, well, he's going to be doing that the same day as MDC. So I had to go find out the other day. He will be speaking at MDC, and that's
Yeah.
part of his tour. But I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
feel
yeah.
like even on Andrew Kramer's video co-pilot announcement, they should have said MDC meetup or something, so people
Yeah.
understood exactly what that meant. But
Yeah.
I'm excited about that now because Andrew Kramer's going to be there. You know,
Yay!
Isn't that like next week?
It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah,
yeah.
Dave leaves what, Wednesday?
I'm leaving Wednesday night. I'll be arriving Thursday morning, and I think talking to Phil, I think we're gonna probably, if we're gonna do any sort of like meetup thing, it would be on Friday.
Okay.
So
Have fun with that.
we'll be doing something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're gonna go
what or
meet
when or
meet
anything,
Raid
but-
Zero.
Yeah, I finally get to meet Raid Zero. I hope he's as nice as that Phil guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So yeah, so get on the Slack on that and talk to us on Facebook or Twitter or wherever if you're not on Slack, and we'll figure out where that's going to be. Probably post something and say, hey guys, like Twitter, hey guys,
Yeah.
we're meeting here tonight. If anybody's around for whatever. So
It's a big year for conferences.
Yeah.
Seagraph is going to be in LA. That's like July, I think 31st to like August 3rd or something in that ballpark. There's also Blend Fest this year, which is maybe that's a little bit closer to the motionographer side of kind
Yeah.
of MoGraph as opposed to like photo real or like C4D kind of stuff. There's also Half Res, which will be September, October-ish.
Camp MoGraph.
Camp MoGraph.
Yep,
We don't
that's
know
gonna
the
be
exact
coming.
dates yet,
I'll
but
get back to you on that. Really
yeah.
excited about that though.
yeah, super fun.
So let's move on to some Ravcock. What's your flavor?
What's your flavor?
Of course, Redshift. I figure we could talk about.
Billy, I want to talk to you about this. Like,
Okay.
it may not necessarily be render engine specific, but I've seen you on the Slack, like being like, why would anyone buy the 20 series, the RTX series, 1080 Ti for life?
What was that thing
You know?
this week that came
It's
out?
like you've been doing all these like speed tests and stuff like that, and just been kind of hating on the 2080 series, which is
something
fine with
came
me.
out though about RTX not.
Oh, RTX will not support out of core as of right now.
yeah.
I
I'm
can
not too
I can
concerned.
explain all of this.
All
Yes,
right.
and so that's why I'm bringing it up.
Okay, yeah. So me as the man of many GPUs,
Right.
in the last 12 months, I've owned 6 980 Ti's, or 8 1080 Ti's and now 2 2080 Ti's. So at my office, I've got 2 boxes with 4 1080 Ti's in each one. Those Octane bench at about 800 points in Octane 4, because Octane 4 scoring is a little bit inflated compared to Octane 3. And then I ran those same benches at home. I replaced my home machine 3 980 Ti's into 2 2080 Ti's. Just due to slot spacing in my case and stuff, I can only work with 3 cards at home at max. And so I decided to give the RTX stuff a shot. If you check out my Twitter, you can find a tweet, or maybe I can send this link to Dave, but I benchmarked all of these hardware configurations. So I did triple 980 Ti, quad 1080 Ti, and dual 2080 Ti in Octane Bench 3, Octane Bench 4, Redshift, official benchmark, and then one of my personal scene files, which was one of my cars driving through a tunnel.
Right.
Just because I have no clue what a benchmark is really.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know how that translates to anything that I do, so I wanted to run one of my own scenes. I posted up all of these results, and I'll say, as of right now, I am very underwhelmed with the performance of the dual 2080 Ti's, and it's important to contextualize that opinion. I am somebody who has been building my own computers for as long as I've been mographing, 7 going on 8 years now. I wouldn't have been able to make it through school if I wasn't able to build my own first computer to learn Maya on, because I didn't have enough money to buy a pre-built computer. I had to scrounge my own money and sell stuff and buy my own parts. So I learned all of this stuff kind of dependent of one another. And I believe that if you are really into the GPU rendering stuff and you're able to either build your own systems or swap your own cards in and out, that also means that you can diagnose your own issues. Like if you're getting crashes or you're getting blue screens, you know how big of a power supply, 1,000 watt, 800 watt, 1,200 watt, whatever, you know how many cards can run on X configuration of hardware. Somebody who builds their own system can know all of this information, presumably, and they can then service their own machine. So I am a really big advocate of people in this camp buying used graphics cards.
Yes, you are.
The reason that I've owned as many graphics cards as I have in the last few years is because I have no aversion to buying a used graphics card, even one that was crypto mined on.
Yeah.
And this is because this is an important thing to realize. Most people who mine crypto undervolt their cards. They run their cards in open air configurations at lower than stock voltage, because of the way that solving cryptography codes, solving the blockchain, quote unquote, the way that works doesn't need high GPU power in the way that us rendering artists want to leverage GPUs. So it's probably better to buy a mined on card than to buy a card that has been GPU rendered on for years or whatever, because we're running cards at 1, higher power levels, 2, we're often overclocking or pushing these cards almost to their limit, using EVGA Precision X or whatever to keep our eyes on temps. And, usually most people are trying to push their cards to somewhere between like 80 and 84 C, because you're getting the most out of your card up to that point. And the cards are being power cycled on and off constantly, right?
Yeah.
Every time you fire up the IPR, it runs for a little while, and then you go stop it, for a couple minutes or half an hour or whatever that night, whatever. That's heat cycling the card, whereas crypto mined cards run consistently 24/7, and that is the most
power.
Right. That is the most common failure point for a GPU, is the solder, right? It's the connection between all of the circuits on the circuit board and all of the different components. That heat cycling, in a certain sense, you can think of it as like boiling that solder. That's why if you're familiar with like the Xbox 360s, they would always die, and people would call this thing the red ring of death. And there was this trick on how to fix your Xbox by wrapping it in a towel. Yeah, the towel trick. You would wrap the thing in a towel. You would stuff it in a closet. I would stuff it in like a drawer, and then you would run the thing all night, and it would reflow the solder basically because the console had heat cycled so many times, the connections broke loose, and the console wouldn't turn on anymore. And the process of you overheating the console so severely with the towel trick method, it would re-bridge those connections, because the solder would basically re-liquefy, and then once it cooled, it would reestablish the connection.
Yeah, that's really funny.
Yeah,
and this is an extremely well documented thing. You can look up, Xbox 360 towel trick, and it will explain to you what this process is.
I'm one of those lucky people that still has a original 360 that still works. But I've told other people about that trick before, and they've done it, and it's worked for them.
No, I don't want to say that this is an exact one-to-one comparison with GPU rendering or crypto mining, because that is a console, has a lot more limited cooling capacity than a big old, honking graphics card with multiple fans. But it's along the same lines of what is going on a hardware level. Someone said, sounds like a house fire risk. Yeah, no, it certainly was.
Don't do this with your don't wrap your graphics card in a towel. If it's
well, thankfully, you can't even really get it to work in such a configuration unless you're stuffing towels into your computer case. Yeah. But anyway, long story short, I am confident when I say that buying a used graphics card, the most you have to worry about is the fan bearing going out, because the fans have been spinning for however many hundreds of hours over the lifetime of the card. And that's actually a really easy fix. You can usually buy the fans either online, or you can buy a card, like a 4 parts card, or maybe just buy the cooler itself, pop the fan out, pop a new one in. If you get an issue where the fan stops spinning, or it starts rattling, or making a bunch of noise because the fan blew out, not the card, the fan on the card. So that's why I like used GPUs. I don't recommend people who need to have a studio computer where they want a full warranty service. They want to call like Dell or whatever in 24 hours. A technician comes out. That's not what I'm talking about. If that's the situation that you want to be in, go ahead, buy brand new not used cards. Get your warranty, do your thing. But if you're like me and you can build your own stuff, you're willing to diagnose your own stuff, go used. Check out eBay. There's also a subreddit called Hardware Swap, which is where I bought, half my cards are eBay, half of them are from Hardware Swap. And, I can get 1080 Ti's for $500 a piece used. It's not as common. It's becoming a little bit more common now because the RTX stuff has been available for a few months now, but when I was starting to look at it, you could almost not buy used RTX cards. At the beginning of December, when I bought mine, that was not an option. So I was looking at $1,200 retail for an Asus blower, which is a single fan 2080 Ti model, versus $500 for used 1080 Ti blower models. So that is basically 40%. The 1080 Ti costs about 40% of what a 2080 Ti does. One used versus one new.
Yeah.
So if you look at the cost of my two 2080 Ti's new, that's about $2,400. I bought them, from a store close to me, so I got charged sales tax. It was about $2,530, all told. So for just call it $2,500, you can get 5 1080 Ti's. Granted, that's probably more than you can put into one system.
Yeah. But if you've got 2 systems with 980 Ti's like I currently have, buying 5 1080 Ti's would up my game quite a bit.
Right, and the thing is 980 Ti's still command a decent amount of money used. You can sell them for $200 to $250. The 6 980 Ti's that I got rid of help subsidize a pretty good amount of the cost of my 2 2080 Ti's. About 60% of the cost. So I didn't need to go all in on that, $2,500. But because I have the ability to leverage used hardware comfortably, I can't discredit that in my pricing versus performance calculations. It would be unwise of me to, in my opinion, to do that in my case. So looking at what, my newest configuration with the 2080 Ti's, granted, most of the software isn't leveraging the Turing RT cores very effectively or at all. I think V-Ray Next, which is like the new build of GPU V-Ray, I think that's the only one that really can leverage stuff on like publicly available beta software. Because I know Octane, I don't think.
No.
Well, I know Redshift doesn't. I don't think Octane doesn't. Arnold GPU is obviously extremely limited access. I think only Chad Ashley's the only one that I know of who has
He's the only one who has it. Yeah.
So that's not on the table yet. So out of all of the render engines, I have no ability to leverage the RT stuff as of right now. I'm not somebody who wants to wait for a bullet point in the future, right? I was an Octane user in the 2.2 days, and 3.0 came out. It took so long to come out that by the time it finally did, I was ready to look elsewhere, and I jumped onto Redshift, and now it looks like Redshift 3.0 is hitting some snags. They say Q1 2019, at SIGGRAPH when all this stuff came out, they said November 2018. I'm starting to, my faith is slipping a little bit. I'm not going to jump to something else in the meantime. I'm happy and established with my Redshift setup, but I am keeping my eyes out. If Arnold GPU comes out and it's the first one that can leverage my hardware, then I'm going to buy 2 or 3 Arnold licenses because that's going to be my new thing. And as a freelancer, I put a lot of money into my own hardware and software, so that way I can command a certain day rate, and then that way I can take on and complete jobs on my own to a certain capacity. Obviously, PixelPlow and stuff is a good fallback plan, but if I can render it in-house with my own setup, that's my go-to.
I can turn my RTX on and off, I think. Let's see.
Oh boy.
RTX on, RTX off. There we go.
Boy.
If only the
Stupid.
audio listeners could see me now.
Yeah, Arnold is subscription only.
Let me turn RTX back on. Hold on.
Video mark.
Ooh, that's better.
So realistic.
All right. Let's. By the way, speaking of Redshift, Grayscale Gorilla Nick, he posted something. Showing off Redshift on his new PC that he has.
I love this video. Like the past 2 videos that Nick has done where he's like, oh, this is me unboxing my computer. Oh, this is me turning it on for the first time. Like I like watching Nick's reaction to the new stuff. It's like we were all there.
On the Monday meeting, I was like, well, we need to have a 10-year challenge of Nick with a Mac and Nick with a PC with Redshift. And like shiny spheres on the Mac and shiny spheres in Redshift.
Yeah, that's funny.
Shiny.
Yeah, I mean it's cool to see him jumping out and finally not being limited to standard or physical, which are relatively slow in comparison for what a $3,000 or $4,000 machine can get you. You can get so much more money out of a good GPU setup.
Yeah,
I mean the big Threadripper, the 2990 XW or whatever the heck that crazy one is. That's a pretty
64 threads or whatever.
Yeah, that's a pretty awesome chip. I know Chad's a big fan of that one with his Arnold setup, but I think you get a little bit more flexibility going GPU. If you put like $4,000 into a GPU machine, I think you're gonna get a little bit more out of that than the equivalent in CPU. Which is why I've gone all GPU in my 3 machines, and I have loved it. I've been on the GPU train since 2015 when I started in Octane, and I haven't looked back. I don't want to look back. But yeah, long story short, to get back to your initial question, the RTX 2080 Ti's, 2 of them perform a little bit better than 3 980 Ti's, but not as good as 4 1080 Ti's. Okay. So if I look at a say $2,000 to $2,500 investment, you're going to get more performance, sure, more heat and more electrical need out of the quad 1080 Ti setup. But at the end of the day, most of us want renders to go faster, and we don't care about what other consequences we need.
Yeah.
Within reason, sure. Right. But you're going to get more out of your money with used 1080 Ti's than anything else. Maybe, I don't know, used 1070 Ti's or something. Like, I'm sure if somebody really, really, really tried, they'd be able to find the absolute most dollar per octane bench.
Yeah.
Ratio,
right.
but
doesn't Redshift recommend 1070 Ti's?
I have no clue.
Pretty sure that I saw that as an actual recommendation for them.
I know that they recommend a certain amount of CPU usage per GPU, which all of my systems are quad core or higher, which doesn't pose a problem in any of my setups. But yeah, I would say I've been a little disappointed. RTX is still off, to quote the meme.
Right.
So maybe things will get better when that stuff gets turned on, and we'll just have to wait and see. The Redshift devs said that out of core geometry, and I think even Jules said this on.
Jules said someone mentioned this. Hold on, I'll find out what he said.
They said that as of right now, the out of core geometry issue on the RTX hardware is an NVIDIA side of the problem. They have leads on working around that issue. I know Jules said he thinks that they can get around that.
He says it's all just programming, which you might be able to program around that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But again, that's that's another thing to contend with. It's like right now I'm in a mixed environment, some 1080 Ti's, some 2080 Ti's. Do I want to set up scenes that can run on both, or it can run on one really fast but not the other at all? Who knows? We're just going to have to wait and see how this stuff shakes out. So I don't know if it's hard to say if I regret buying the 2080 Ti's. As of right now, I'm not happy. I don't know if I should say I regret it entirely.
It's just not what you thought it would be.
Right, and I kind of knew it wouldn't. I knew it wouldn't be everything that it's claiming to be, because I know even when I bought the cards 6 weeks ago, I knew that RTX was off, quote.
Right.
But I still expected a little bit. I expected the two 2080 Ti's to match 4 1080 Ti's, and the fact that it was like a third off.
Yeah.
I was like, I spent more on these two cards than, it cost me $2,500 to get two cards. I could have spent $2,000 and got 4 cards and another 25% performance on top.
Yeah.
And I have the power supplies laying around. I've got my cases lying around. It's like it's literally just the number of cards is the issue.
Yeah.
So in my situation, RTX was a little overhyped as of right now. We just have to kind of wait and see. I know some of the laptops are starting to come out with the RTX cards.
Yeah, I've seen some 2060 or something like that.
Yeah, because CES was a week or two ago, and all that stuff got unveiled. So I know the newest Razer laptops are going to start coming with those. So maybe those will be really awesome in a one-card environment. Those could be really cool.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
And Octane also came out with 20 extra Octane DCC plugins for their All Access subscribers this week too.
So if you're an All Access subscriber, you get a bunch of new ones. You get the Maya, Houdini, Rhino, Blender, Lightwave, I think. Yeah, it's so that's pretty cool. That's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. That wasn't a feature that was supported when I was an Octane user. So it's awesome to see that they've made improvements on that customer service side. And that's what's cool. Ultimately, the render wars became kind of a bit of a meme a year or two ago, and it seems like all the companies have pushed one another. I know we would never see an Arnold GPU build if things like Octane hadn't have come around, and I wouldn't be using Redshift for C4D if they hadn't made their Cinema 4D Alpha plugin free. When it was still in alpha.
Yeah.
And
I'm with you there.
That was that. Well, I mean, because I wouldn't have committed to 3 computers, 3 licenses, just on the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. So it's really cool that they did that, and they've kind of pushed back at Octane a little bit, and Otoy's responded, and it's obviously it's good for all of us. We have to hope that we have to hope that in NVIDIA doesn't get too complacent, because AMD is really no competitor to them in terms of what we do as GPU rendering artists.
Right. Right.
So we're always kind of at the mercy of NVIDIA, and going off of this RTX out of core, in core, whatever developer talk, it seems like they have to work against NVIDIA to, in my phrasing, they have to work against NVIDIA to some degree, which is annoying. I wish that they would all be on the same page, but we represent such a fraction of a fraction of the percentage that, I mean, it makes sense. I don't like it, but I can understand it.
Yeah. Maybe they're just trying to get, it's a big conspiracy to get people to buy more 2080 Ti's or 2080 RTX series so that they can use the NVLink.
Well, they want us to be buying Quadros.
Yeah, they do.
That's what they want.
Yeah.
When I told people on the SIGGRAPH show floor at the NVIDIA booth that I have multiple computers with GTX 1080 Ti's in them, like 4 in each computer, they were like flabbergasted. They're like, "What in the like? Were you born on Mars?"
So, no, we want CUDA. We don't want the
Yeah.
We're not doing genome sequencing.
Right. I'm not calculating bridge collapse physics, so I don't need double precision floating point calculating or whatever. It's like, give me the ability to overclock or control the temperature in the fan of the card so that I can run my stuff comfortably for the periods of time that I need to, and make the card as fast as possible.
Yeah.
I don't care what label you put on it. I don't care what driver you make me install.
Be interesting if they did a
graphic designer's version.
Right.
Not a gaming card, not a generic
not a gaming
card,
card.
But just for 3D rendering.
Yeah. I don't know. It'd be interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were blown away. They're like, you call yourself a professional and you aren't using Quadro cards? Like, what? I'm like, no, I can't afford
Trying
one
to
Quadro.
shame you into spending more money.
Yeah, it's like,
what kind of a
does it
tactic
help?
is that?
It's like, okay, well, convince me that it's better.
I would rather have my I would rather have my 8 1080 Ti's than 1.5 Quadro, whatever the hex.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, convince me I'm wrong.
Yeah, that meme.
The
yeah,
meme.
the guy at the lemonade stand or whatever.
There's our cover art. Someone in the chat room make us our cover art.
What is it gonna say?
It's gonna say
1080 Ti's is better than 2 Quadro cards.
It's got to be about graphic designers though. It's or motion. GPU I used. I don't know. What would you say?
I mean, in my opinion, the guy should say my opinion, the guy should say RTX is overhyped. Prove me wrong.
Yeah.
But that might be. I don't know how hot of a take that is.
Maybe GPU. Let's say GeForce over
Quadro. Yeah.
Quadro for
professional use
for a GPU rendering. Prove me wrong or something.
All
Somebody
right.
come up with it. If not, I'll make it. It's fine. But tell us about your place that you just opened and how that's all working.
Yeah. So I mentioned when I was on my GPU rant about having an office where most of my cards are. So yeah, I, alongside with 7 of my other best friends here in the state, we came together and we lease an office. We're all freelancers or remote staff workers, and the 8 of us, share an office. We all have our own desks. We've got a little couch area, a little dining area. It's like having an office. We all work out of it when we're there, and we're not working on site. It's really awesome. It's everything that we wanted out of the experience. The primary 6 of us have been friends since we all kind of graduated from school like 4 or 5 years ago. And it was something that we wanted to do and enough of us have gone freelance in the last year. And another one of our friends, Julie, who runs our local meetup, she was looking to kind of get an office or some sort of situation so that she didn't have to work from home alone. And, it all made sense. There was enough of us who were on board. We have a location. We're in a building that actually happens to be underneath the office that Gunnar works in. They're a super rad studio that a handful of us get to freelance at from time to time. They also have another company down the hall that some of us work at. And so as a hub, it's really cool that so many of us get to go into, we get to go into work, and if we're not in the room, we're in the building, hanging out, and it's a blast.
There you go, Dave. I just sent you the meme. I said consumer GPUs are better than Quadro cards. Changed my mind.
You gotta say for GPU rendering or something. Where'd you send it to
cares?
Me? In the Dingus or something?
In the Dingus. Yeah. It's just a simple one.
All right. Sweet. Holy compression, Batman.
Holy compression.
Holy compression. Here you go. I'll bring it up. There you go. Consumer GPUs are better than Quadro cards. Changed my mind. I think it needs to for
who cares?
For GPU rendering. Changed my mind.
All right.
Or you can just say consumer GPUs render better than Quadro cards, just for brevity.
There you go. That works.
Yo, what up, Todd?
Get some
going. Todd in the chat is one of the St. Vincent family. That's the name of the building. It's actually an old school. It was like a religious middle school, like in the 60s and 70s. So the hallways are all filled with lockers, and the bathrooms say like boys and girls. And like each different room has, the sign, like it was the homemaking room, or it was the biology room, or whatever. Yeah, it's really awesome. It's in a cool location, and the landlord is super reasonable with what he charges. We split it 8 ways, and since we're all friends, we've priced it in a way that we can make it work, and it's not like one of us is profiting off of the others or whatever. We're running it just at kind of the baseline where it's as cheap as it can be, but it's got everything that we all want and need. And if people want to pitch in a coffee maker or espresso maker or whatever, people are free to bring that stuff in. And it's been fantastic. We all want to push to work more there and less on site, because a lot of our clientele here in the Detroit area are still big ad agencies, which kind of run off the old model of 400 million people work under one roof, and there's a cafeteria, and everyone has their own offices, and they don't know what Slack is, and that whole setup, and some of that stuff can be frustrating from time to time. Going into that environment where you don't have your own gear, is never fun. Especially with some of the stuff that we have to do, you almost can't.
Yeah.
So.
And Nick Campbell says, "Hi, Billy."
Oh, hey, Nick. Hey, man. Yeah. So, we had a big Christmas party that Gunnar threw, and we had some people come by. It's just such an awesome setup that we're all really happy with it, and I know some stuff is expanding within that building. So, if by some small chance you are in the Detroit or Metro Detroit area and you don't know of me, reach out, and it would be awesome to get more people involved, for anyone listening.
Cool. You've got some projects and stuff that I think eventually, we can't talk about right now, but I think eventually you're going to do a breakdown of too on the stream. So that'll be fun as well. So can't wait to see that.
Yeah, a long format kind of project. If you're familiar with the things that I like, you can take some educated guesses as to what it may or may not be. But it was an opportunity that kind of came across, my plate, and it was something that would have never been on my radar of things to do. As a motion designer, you may want to do a title sequence or work on a music video or, you know, these sort of bucket list kind of things. And this is something that is so far removed from anything that my imagination could have ever conjured that it's just super exciting, and I can't wait to share with everybody.
Are you building a spaceship? Are you building a real spaceship? Is that what you're doing for the Space Force?
I cannot confirm nor deny. I may or may not have a mission patch from an undocumented military.
Oh, there you go.
No, this is just for fun. It's unrelated, but
oh, that's when the squid monsters attacked. I remember that. That sucked.
yeah, I mean, this is if Beeple's watching, this is basically this is a daily for you.
There you go.
These mission patches, NROL, these are like government spy or whatever, you know, intelligence reconnaissance satellites. These have awesome mission patches. So go ahead and Google NROL and like look up the Wikipedia list of these undocumented satellites. They're all awesome, rad artwork.
Do you think that those satellites run 1080s like
Now-
GTX, or do you think they're going?
I mean, they're
Am I-
probably on
If
Quadros.
I
Yeah.
Google this, am I going to be put on some NSA
Oh,
website somewhere?
I'm sure.
Well, you already are, so don't worry about that.
You're just getting added into a new directory somewhere in the big spreadsheet. You're getting
That's
added
true.
to a new tab.
It's another
Right.
meme. Can't get put on the NSA watch list if you're already on the NSA watch list.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, I sent you a new one. It says consumer
Oh, you did?
GPUs something something. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Consumer GPUs render better than Quadro cards.
Prove
There
me
you go.
wrong.
Prove me wrong.
Prove me wrong. Children.
Oh, look, I've got a LinkedIn request.
Look at that.
I got one just before the show started.
Yep.
To bring it full circle.
Always. So, another thing that you had here, we don't have too much time left because I think Matt has a hard out, but
I don't.
oh, you don't.
It's MLK Day.
Oh,
No, I don't
that's
have
right.
to pick up my
That's
kid.
right. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
He's already
Cool.
here.
But let's
Heck
talk
yeah.
about new year, new reel, and new
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, so like most people, a New Year's come around, and you know, I've got I made it at the tail end of last year, November. But yeah, I've got a relatively fresh demo reel out. When I went freelance, I set a goal for myself that I wanted to make a new reel every year for 3 years and not have duplicate work carry over from one year into the
okay.
next, which is, you know, it's a lofty goal.
It's hard to
But
do.
it's something that it's doable.
Yeah, I'm still using stuff from like 6 years ago.
Oh, and I totally did. The reel that I cut when I had gone freelance, that was a culmination of personal work from, you know, 24 to 18 months leading up to going freelance. So I definitely know, you know, how long it can take
dude.
to generate pretty solid work.
This is so good. This
Thank
reel is so good.
Thank you. Yeah, and
Is
thankfully
this on your
I've
site? I need to put that in the show notes as well.
The editing on this is fantastic. Like the fact that you like you used so many of the accents and the music and everything in order to like on the edits. Oh, so good. So good, dude.
thank
This is
you.
a
Yeah.
really good reel.
Thank you. No, and that was all an extremely conscious effort. You know, the editing process, sitting down for, you know, I did the first rough cut in probably 2 days, and then I refined it for a whole month. I kept making new work, you know, little shots here and there to drop in, and just sequencing stuff around, kind of play testing it for people in my office, you know, saying like, hey, how do you like this cut? You know, workshopping it, you know, like any artist ought to be honing their craft. I, you know, put that much work into the reel, and I always like doing that. You know, playing up to the musical cues is pretty important, and I guess alongside of that, finding music is pretty important. You know, it's extremely important for a demo reel, and I can expand upon my process. Was when I work, I listen to a ton of different music, but one of the genres of music I do like to actively listen to is kind of the genre of music that my demo reel would fall into.
Yeah.
And in doing that, you know, on Google Music or Spotify or SoundCloud, whatever music player you like to, like to use, keep a list. You can just write it down on a document or make a playlist and favorite.
Playlist, yeah, like
whatever
possible real music.
Yeah, and anytime
Just
something
Tokyo
catches you-
Megaplex. That's all Tokyo Megaplex.
Right.
I mean, yeah, it's certainly definitely not a bad option, but that's going to lead into my next comment of once you've established a couple contenders for music, try reaching out to those people. And actually, that's exactly what I did. I stumbled across this track by an artist named Knives on SoundCloud. I never had heard of him before this. He might have a few hundred or a few thousand followers. He's not a massive, unapproachable, a Kanye West or a Beyonce or whatever. Obviously, artists can get to a certain point where you have no hope in hell of ever actually getting direct contact with them, or a legal representative of them, whatever. But in this case, I found a small artist who I could reach out to directly. I DM'd him, literally DM'd him on Twitter. I was like, hey, this is probably a weird request, but I want to ask you for permission to use your reel or use your song on a demo reel of mine. I linked him my, at that time, year-old demo reel. And he was like, okay, cool. Your work seems pretty good. Are you open to collaborations or anything else in the future? And, I offered to, make like some little Instagram work for him or whatever. He didn't take me up on it, but he did give me permission to use his track in good faith.
Nice.
I know Vimeo has kind of cracked down on DMCA takedowns and stuff. They're probably facing the same sort of issues as YouTube as they continue to grow and maybe more money tries to pour into their business model. I understand.
But there's a lot of tracks that are actually considered YouTube safe, and you can actually search. They have a search tool. You can see, like, if there's a track you like, you can, as long as you're not running ads on that, you could use it without it being taken down.
Yeah,
I'll research that sometimes ahead of time.
Yeah, you certainly can do that, or you can get royalty-free music. It's just the genre of music that I like, that I want my demo reel to represent, because I feel that a demo reel is a representation of you as an artist. Like, if you watch my demo reel and you don't know who I am, you immediately get an understanding of some of the work that I like, and it's very, I don't want to say well thought out, but there's a lot of care and attention put into the editing of the track to sync it up to the music, which reflects itself in how meticulous I get when I'm either modeling or texturing something. That subliminally, all that is kind of present, and I think that is apparent in anyone's demo reel that you watch. If they're at a certain level as an artist and they're aware and cognizant of these sorts of things, effort has been put into every aspect of a demo reel, and that reflects that person. The genre of music is something that I particularly like, and that's what I want represented. And in my opinion, I don't find that when I look up either royalty-free or stock music. So that's why I went the route that I went, which was find a genre of music that I like, find an artist who is small enough that I can realistically contact them, and then get it just morally, cleared with them. Because, I've posted artwork on Instagram where, I cut like a 6-second segment out of a popular hip hop artist's song or whatever, because it's got a cool beat and it's something, maybe that was the song I was listening to when I did that daily. And I just clip it to that thing. And, obviously we're all kind of understanding of the sort of copyright gray zone that falls into. But for a demo reel, it's a little bit more forward facing. It represents your ability to get work a little bit more officially, that I just morally don't want to skirt around. So I made that decision, and it worked out really good. And I really like the track, being enthusiastic with the editing process of the track, because I like the genre of music. It all kind of plays into one another. Sure, most people end up disliking a track once they've cut a demo reel to it, because you've listened to it so many times. But that process is alleviated a little bit if it's a song you really like and you really connect with, and it resonates within you.
I do Mike the Monkey's trick on anything like that. If it's something I know I'm gonna have to ruin for myself, I find something with the same BPM and I cut to that temporarily, and then I revisit it at the end.
That's not a bad trick, but there are some specific, hits. Like there's the
Jan, or whatever.
Yeah,
with
you
the
can kind of go back and forth if you
I
do
think
it
that's
right,
great.
though.
Like,
yeah,
I think that,
Yeah.
Here's what's amazing to me about this. Like, I've seen almost all of this work because a lot of this was stuff you just did. They were just your own personal projects, right? Like, I want to say a good majority of this is personal project stuff, right?
Yeah. There's two segments that have client work. There's the middle section, which is in the musical lull, that has like the bright colored like phone
right
stuff. That was a job that me and one of my studio mates did over July and August, and the job kind of got weird. It fizzled out like right as we were delivering it at the end. Thankfully we got paid and we're all good, but we were never really able to post and hey, we did this thing that we're really proud of, because it kind of fizzled out and it died to some degree. So it took a while for us to be able to get that material out. And then at the end, there are some similar looking shots that have, they were title cards for like a medical conference or whatever. There are these two big letters that have like, little graphs and some other stuff around them.
Oh, the A and the D?
Yeah.
See, that's funny because I thought that was probably just a personal, like, how people do the alphabet, like, challenge or whatever.
Days of type,
like, that's what I thought that was. But that's funny.
For your copyright stuff, you could just do like what everybody else does. If you just type, "I don't own the copyright to this," then apparently somehow it's magically okay
totally
to use.
clears you.
Yeah, you're clear.
This is fair use. I do not own this copyright. This is for fan use only.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and all the work, all the personal work that you put in here, it's all just so good.
Thank you.
It's so different. Like, you've got such a range of different styles and stuff. I love it. I totally love it. I'm very jealous.
Thank you. And so much of that
40 seconds. This is something that I've stressed with a few people. Like I've been training Nick and stuff like that. And I was like, all right, Nick, you've got a good idea of how to use the software. Now you need to start building a reel, And it's like back when we were building reels, like editing reels are so much different than, MoGraph reels. Like an editing reel is like 5 minutes long and you're showing that you can do whatever. Ours is 1 minute. 40 seconds for yours. It's like, that's all you need to know. I know that you're a good enough artist that you can then pull off whatever I need you to do. And since you've got such a wide variety, it's like whatever style I need, you can pull off. I don't know.
No, that's all a conscious, effort on my part. When a minute ago when I said I want to cut a new demo reel every year for 3 years with no repeat material, that goal in and of itself spawns sub goals of like, hey, I need to make a certain amount of work, maybe one piece a month or a couple very small pieces per month, that over the course of a year I've got enough usable material for a reel. Because I mean, just not every job or every personal project is going to come out the way that you want. So you have to have you can throw a bunch of junk up on the wall and see what sticks, but it helps if you've got more junk in your pocket to try out. So I would say, I started, there's maybe 20 different shots in that reel, give or take. And I probably pulled in 40 or 30 pieces of, material into the bin. I'm one of those crazy people who edits in After Effects because I suck.
Yeah, I do that too.
But if you look at the bin in that project file, there's way more material in that bin than there is that winds up in that timeline, because I work to make enough material that I can curate a certain level of self curation of picking the best material. And that big goal of wanting to set a new demo reel every year forces me to, come up with ideas of collaborating with my office mates from time to time, or just being active in my own time, whether it's learning modeling or learning rigging or just practicing texturing and lighting, whatever the case may be. I put as much free time I get to good use, and that is all because I have this very big goal that I need to break down. Okay, I need to break this down year by year, and then year by year I need to break that down like month by month or quarter by quarter or whatever, so that way I can stay on track. Because obviously I couldn't make all of that material in 1 month. It takes 12 months to make that much material to go into a reel that has that many cuts, has that many different pieces and that wide of a range. You know, I spent 2 months working on that explainer video that comprises the middle chunk of that, with, you know, the blue and the yellow and the phone and all that. So when I'm not on that job, I've got to make sure that I'm making good use on, you know, other portions of the year.
Have you done anything with the new, experimenting with the new Spider-Man style that a lot of people are trying out right now?
I haven't. I did render the shoe that Miles wears, because, you know, I like shoes a bit, and you know, I had kicked around an idea of wanting to do one of the 5 dimensions style animations that I do with some of my friends, of doing one based around the shoe, and, you know, we might reprise that. But it's been really awesome to see how much, you know, stylistic or non-photoreal work has popped up since Spider-Verse came out. I mean, the movie is just so damn inspiring.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone who's in our field, whether you're 2D, 3D, cell, characters, whatever, nobody can watch that movie and not be inspired in whatever their specific, you know, niche. There's something for everyone there.
I saw Chad Ashley was doing some of that this week too.
Yeah, and Dan Marino was working out some stuff.
Yep.
I saw that.
I think in standard render. So, you know, the GPU engines are capable of it. Standard render is capable of it. I'm sure, you know, stuff like Blender and, you know, Maya, for those people, they've got opportunities to try that stuff out as well. And hell, even just Cell in 2D. I know those aren't our worlds, but, you know, illustration people have been eating that stuff up. I see so many, you know, fan illustrations of these characters on Twitter. It's just like, it's so cool to see something that spawned so much work that people are so amped about.
Yeah.
You all keep going. I have to use the restroom, but don't
Do
mind
it.
me. I'll be back.
Wish you would.
I think I will.
I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen the movie.
Oh man.
I know I need to. I've been wanting to take my kid to go see the movie. So, you know, just waiting. But I really like in your, like, on your page, in your reel, that, and this is something that a lot of us don't do, but I think is very important to do, is that you, on each individual spot, you actually mark down what you were doing. You know?
The description, yeah.
Yeah. It's a description underneath. If you click on the reel, you know, for those at home, click on the reel tab and, like, look down, it actually gives all the seconds. And then you even link to, like, your Instagram or, like, specific things that you did, or specific web pages that you put together for this, which is very cool. So it's like people can see more work of the same general thing. So they know that you did all of this, and it's like, oh, okay, well, he can do one car, you know, but then you go to the link and it's like, oh no, he can do a lot of cars, you know. He's the car guru.
Yeah, and you know, that's another thing that there's a lot of effort that gets put into this, you know, citing my sources. It's just like when you write a paper at school or whatever, and they're like, you need to cite your sources in MLA format or whatever.
Yeah.
The hell.
Yeah.
For some reason that stuck with me, you know, from my pre-MoGraph career or whatever. It's like the little bibliography.
Yeah.
I don't want to click on a reel and then have to question what or how something was done by somebody, what involvement they had, because, you know, you'll see, it's a common thing that if somebody freelanced on a thing that, you know, some big name studio did a spa for Apple or whatever, and it's like, I know, we all know that person had a very limited capacity in that particular spot. I want to know how limited that was. Yeah. On a big job, you know, 2 of the shots at the very last 2 shots I did in my reel, I did working at Gunner, and those are 2 shots that, the first one, the city, I'm responsible for all the aspects of that shot in 3D. That shot was built in Cinema 4D. I had basically a style frame. It was a illustration, purely all just Photoshop, you know, drawn
Uh-huh.
a tablet or whatever that an illustrator someone did. It was dropped into their animatic or whatever, and then they brought me in, and I made that shot. And okay, in that case, if you watch the full spot on Gunner's Vimeo, I'm listed as one of the animators. Cool, I appreciate that, but nobody's going to know what I did on one particular shot. Obviously, as a studio, it's not their job to disclose that sort of stuff. That would be almost impossible to disclose everything. But for me, I wouldn't want somebody to open my reel or watch my reel, see or recognize that I did a shot at X studio, and then question what I did.
Right.
Because, not that I would take it personally if they question it. It's obviously a very valid and healthy reaction to, question what you're seeing. As an employer or, somebody who's booking artists or whatever, a producer, that is you should be doing that. But I want to answer the question before you even have to ask it. If I can, it just makes sense. Hell, that's one less email that somebody needs to send. If I just wrote out in the description, I did everything in this one shot, and then in the shot that follows it, I did X, Y, or Z other aspect, right?
Yeah.
If I can do that for every shot in my demo reel, then that should answer everyone's question about what I did, what role I served.
And it gives you, it just makes you more hireable, versus someone who just throws, because our question is always, back when Dave and I were working at this old place together, anytime someone come in or send us their reel, it's always, well, what'd you do? And being able to lay that out, I think really helps sell yourself.
And I know you did those 4 because those are Grayscale Gorilla tutorials.
Right.
And then the other ones, did you do anything in here? Well, I scanned the texture for that thing that somebody else put in this entire thing. Oh, okay. So you didn't actually make this. No, but I scanned the texture.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, or somebody who just set the ending type, the super at the end of a spot.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm sure that still as a task in and of itself is a worthwhile, that's a task. And I'm sure it goes through multiple rounds of revisions and art directors and critiques and clients and all that. It still needs to be done, but in the context of a full spot, it's not like...
You only wrote the 1-800 number super at the end.
Right.
That was it. Yeah.
Sure, that's a skill that somebody needs to do, and that's a job that somebody needs to fulfill, but in terms of motion design, I want to be known as somebody who can animate kick-ass things, I can model kick-ass things, I can texture, I can light, I can rig to some degree, I can set things up for other artists, I can be part of any part of the pipeline other than maybe sculpting or Sims. I don't do Houdini or Smoke or Liquid, Real Flow, that's not my game, and none of that is in my reel. So I don't want to be misinterpreted in any way, shape, or form. I don't want anyone to have to question my involvement or, accuse me of, overselling myself or, whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Just because it's easy to avoid. I take 20 minutes when I post the reel, I write that description in the Vimeo, description box. I know where all this work lives because I've been actively making it and kind of cataloging it for the last couple months when I'm getting ready to cut a reel. So I know the train station, okay, well, that's on my roommate's website. I can go right to that, copy and paste, boom, done, move on to the next one,
Yeah.
So let's go to some links real quick, because I got some good links, and I know that, Billy, you got some links in here that you've added as well. Just real quick, Net Creator version 1.1.1 is an open source Cinema 4D plugin. This is something that will create little node dealies out of splines and stuff. It's kind of a project that this guy did back in the day, but I guess it wasn't working the same way it used to, so he kind of revamped it. But it is open source, which I don't know if that means it's just a bunch of Espresso stuff. I haven't really looked at it, or if it's open source Python or some other sort of language. But it looks like a little cool thing. It's free, so check that out. And then Phil sent me this. This is from Google Maps to 3D map in Photoshop. It's a 3D map generator. I don't know if there's any way you could even get this data into Cinema 4D, but it's called Atlas. It's a 3D map generator. We'll have a link for that in the show notes. You can check that out. Phil was like, you know, maybe this is an alternative to Dim Earth or something if it really does, you know, if it works, if it plays well with Cinema 4D. But I haven't had the chance to really like dig into it yet, but it is very cool looking. Also, Andrew Price's Massive Wood collection on Polygon.
You had to pause, didn't you?
What are you laughing? I don't
You
understand.
had to pause.
They're adding some great wood textures to Polygon. I would love to have Andrew Price on the show at some point. That's when we got to work on Matt. I'll let you.
I'll work on it.
I'll let you work on that one. And
you don't worry about blank. You let me worry about blank.
And this morning on the Monday meeting, they were talking about the True Detective Season 3 intro. And so you know how there's kind of a theme with True Detective intros, kind of that compositing, masking.
It's a double exposure look.
Yeah, like putting factories into people's faces and stuff, you know, ink blots and things like that. It kind of reminded me of one of the very original videos that was done. It was showing off, I don't even know if it was After Effects. It might have just been Premiere it was showing off. But it was this video that they used for an advertisement. And I remember back in like 95 or 96 when I was working in some of these Adobe programs for the first time in, you know, on these awful old PowerPC Macintoshes and Quadras, that they had this little video that played, and it kind of reminded me of that. So I went and I looked it back up. This is called Fragments of Dreams, an old Adobe commercial. And it shows you where this has come, because you look at like the way that text and everything is handled. This is like an early version of this. It had like a Pavarotti, Pavarotti? Is that his name? Pavarotti song going? And then David Ariev did a VFX crash course review for Aaron Sorensen's series, which we need to talk to him about that. I'm curious to see how his launch went with that and how he's doing on that. But
yeah, that course looked really awesome.
Yeah,
bunch of X particles, some Redshift, a lot of Cinema 4D. Yeah, I think it was covers a whole bunch of stuff. So if you missed that. Think of it like a boot camp sort of class, you know, a MoGraph mentor or a School of Motion, sort of along those lines, where it's going to be a bunch of material. You need to be self-motivated, but it's like great material from what it looks like.
And it's doing a shot from beginning to end to take you all the way through the process, and that's kind of nice.
Looks really worthwhile, so I would check that out. I would love to jump into something like that.
And then, Billy, your recommendations, you've got at MoGraph Memes account on Instagram. That sounds fun.
So this account is incredible. I don't know who runs it. I don't have a clue on the identity of the person who runs this account. But if you're an Instagram user, look up the account at MoGraph Memes. It is hilarious. It leans a little bit more 3D. So it's like it would be perfect for kind of this audience. As opposed to, say, if somebody was like a character illustrator side of MoGraph, it wouldn't, some of the stuff wouldn't hit quite as closely. But there's just like
I think it's Merc. I'm telling you.
I think it is too.
Well, the thing with that is Merc runs another meme account on Twitter called Memes CG.
Oh.
And I don't think Memes CG and MoGraph Memes on Instagram are the same account.
I see.
There was one that used the Hacker Man from what's that show? Mr. Robot.
Oh, okay.
It was like maybe a week or two ago, but I think that was the post that like really blew up this account.
After Effects crash. After Effects let me practice my skills
stop using
again.
negative language. Instead of After Effects crash, say After Effects let me practice my skills again. So
unemployed. I'm working on a personal project.
My renders suck. Oh, that's my original style. I never got
That's
paid.
funny.
I got good exposure. I don't know that. I don't know that software. Oh, I know how to use the internet. Yeah.
Like that.
But see, I thought it was Merc because Merc loves to just bash on 3D Max like constantly.
I mean,
It's funny.
it might be Merc. I can't, like I said, I can't discredit that. And when I said that he runs the memes CG Twitter account, it's just a hunch. But I don't think that this account and the one on Twitter are the same person, because this one posts once a day, and the other one, the Twitter one, posts much more frequently. And if you like on Facebook, Merck's Facebook account or page or whatever, that account and the Twitter one post almost the identical stuff at the identical time. So
yeah.
this one's pretty hilarious. But yeah, I would recommend giving this one a quick follow. Super fun.
Well, these are good.
And it covers such a range, you know. If you know a little bit of 3D, a little bit of video editing, a little bit of After Effects, like you'll be able to get like virtually all of this.
Yeah, this is pretty good. What else here? Adam Savage's Tested YouTube channel. I've seen that. It's pretty good.
Yeah. So I just linked you on Slack the playlist for this. So if people want to,
Oh, okay, cool.
like specifically, so on YouTube, Adam Savage, you know, the former Mythbuster, he has a YouTube channel where they do all sorts of stuff. There's a handful of podcasts and tech reviews and just it's a big variety of things. But he is very much into making things, like, you know, physically making models and all that. Before his time,
the what was it? The Nerf gun one that he did was awesome.
Oh
That one
yeah,
was so cool.
and they are just genuinely entertaining videos. But the playlist that is called One Day Builds, because his time professionally before being on Mythbusters, he was a model maker at ILM. He made models on some of the Star Wars prequels, I think episodes 1 and 2. And regardless of what you want to say about the movies as films, the model making was, you know, right on par with the originals. And that stuff is really what in my opinion, makes those movies like just so awesome. The set design, which is largely done in miniature. Same things with movies like Blade Runner and all that. And so as a 3D person, you might be confused why watching people make physical models, like how that's relevant to you. But Adam does such an incredible job explaining.
Totally agree.
Like in the process of making a model, how you paint it and how you weather it, which is making things look like distressed or look used. That is so applicable to like texturing as a 3D artist.
Absolutely.
Because you need to think in layers, and you need to think about how things are built, and in even just in weathering or adding like grunge or grime or detail to an object, he explains a lot of the intricacies of like, on certain areas of a model where the grime or the dirt might build up, what areas might be more clean, which areas might get damaged more, etc. And I've indirectly, I feel like I've learned a lot, you know, without needing or without ever being taught, like, these are the areas that you should add dirt onto your 3D model. I've been able to extract that information from what he's saying in these YouTube videos, and you know, they're relatively longer videos. Sometimes they're 30 to 60 minutes in length. So I like putting an episode on and then working, you know, while I'm working on stuff. And then when it gets to the point where, you know, at the end, you know, once he's built the model, he's painting it and he's talking about the details he's adding, then I'll kind of tune
like
in a little bit.
He what is it? The kit bashing, you know, he talks a lot about kit bashing and how the original kit bashing was just stealing from old model kits and like gluing them on and stuff like that to add these little details.
Star Wars characters.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's super cool.
The origin of the word greeble, or he calls them greeblies, like that information that is in these sorts of video series. He's, you know, not a 3D artist, but he's doing what, as 3D artists, what we do. He did that, you know, the predecessor. He did what we're doing 20, 30 years ago in the medium that it was done back in those days.
Right.
And he expresses and teaches this information, you know, for free on YouTube and in an entertaining, high production, way. Like the videos are shot nice, they have good audio quality. Like, they would be perfectly suitable, in my opinion, to air on TV.
Yeah, totally agree.
And this is all just free content that is put out on YouTube. So I would really like to recommend that the One Day Builds series in particular. He's got a couple really awesome videos on kit bashing and all that fun stuff.
And that kind of ties into your other topic here of incorporating your hobbies and interest into your own 3D work.
There was something just real quick that Adam Savage said. Someone was mentioning this the other day, and it was all about like buying tools and stuff. And Adam Savage has said, always buy the cheapest tool,
the first time
for the job. The first time, yeah, because if it breaks, if it doesn't break, you're not using it enough. To necessitate needing a better version. If it breaks, then you need to go get a higher version because you're using it a lot, And I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, that philosophy can be, pulled out into all sorts of things. Like if you're doing, a particle plugin job or even just, things like customizing your interface. It's like, well, if I use this one time, then okay, maybe I didn't need to expend a bunch of energy. But if it's like a routine or a task that you're doing over and over again, okay, put the good amount, invest in it. Like once you're going to establish that you're going to get a good return on your investment, and then like, okay, cool, I can spend the money on this plugin or this modeling pack or training series, whatever the case may be. Like once you can establish that you have a good need for it, you're going to be able to get a good amount back out of it.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
That's incredibly valuable, and that's not something that you would know just like by watching MoGraph podcasts or whatever. Like sure, people talk about freelancing and how to get clients and whatever, but like there's so much information that you can apply from outside perspectives into MoGraph, which I mean, obviously you can apply almost anything to anything else in life if you think critically enough, but these are relatively easy things to act on.
Yeah, like I've gotten pretty good at in the other direction. I've gotten pretty good at the claw games because I'm really good at judging Z depth.
Yeah, okay. I can see that.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So show off what you got right there to the live audience.
Oh yeah. So, like you said a second ago, incorporating things like hobbies and interests. One of the reasons I do like Adam's videos as much as I do is because I do personally enjoy model making and putting together model kits. In particular, I like Gundam model kits, which are the, anime robots that fight, from the 80s, 90s till today, even they still make those shows. But I have put in a number of these kits together, and if I can get this guy close to camera, I don't know if it's going to focus or not, but we can see that there's like maybe a little bit of damage on it. I've painted in some areas. I really don't think that's going to focus too well, but hopefully this is something that I've liked doing since I was young. I played with Lego and all that as a kid, and now as an adult, I can choose where and how to spend my free time and my money. And this is one of those avenues that it's something that I liked, and I actually found a way to incorporate it into my motion graphics work. I found a 3D model of a Gundam. I rigged it up, and I did an animation last year, which some of the shots I liked enough to.
Reel, right?
Yeah, I liked.
Yeah,
I liked.
Great.
I liked the shots enough to put them into my reel, and this is, ultimately the point that I'm trying to get across is finding ways to incorporate not MoGraph things that you like into your MoGraph in a way to help stimulate or motivate yourself to make personal work.
What style would you call that? Would you call that Gundam style?
Gosh, you're so fired.
Episode title.
I'm the guest. I'm not supposed to groan as the guest, but
where's the bell, Matt? Come on.
But I've got a handful of other ones that I've put together recently. Some bigger ones. This guy's like almost as big as my head. And these are just kind of peaceful. I put these kits together over. Some of them can take.
Takes patience.
Yeah, it definitely takes patience, and some of these can take probably 20 to 40 hours worth of effort, if not more, to get like all the tiny little decals and all the little details and painting them and stuff. There's even ideas. I'm sure like with any hobby you can find ways to relate it back to motion graphics, but there's a technique called panel lining, which is taking a thin line marker and you kind of trace out or outline where all the seams on the model are.
Yeah.
And it looks like an ambient occlusion pass.
Yeah.
If you think of a model with and without ambient occlusion, it adds in little dark patches to all the little crevices, and it kind of adds depth and a little bit more realism to the model. It's like, oh, okay, well, I know what ambient occlusion is from 3D. I can see the value of adding that to my model, and I can understand and value the amount of time that it's going to take in this little hobby project of mine.
Do you do that on the edges and then kind of like rub them away a little bit so they kind of fade? And
yeah, I mean it's going to be tough to get the webcam to focus, but like there's quite a bit of detail like on the shield for this one.
You can see it like kind of like right on the front and stuff. That's cool.
Oh, and there's a name for that too. They're not an ambient occlusion pass, but there's another one for the fine lines. There's a name for that type of pass, and I forget what it is.
Yeah, I mean I'm not going to preach my hobbies to other people, but this is something that I've liked, and I've been able to draw direct, correlations to 3D. It kind of helps you think about how something might be built, which is useful if you're modeling something. Approaching a 3D modeling job as like how something might be built is an applicable. That's a reasonably useful skill. Replicating a 3D model for a client or a job or whatever, if you can help break that down into smaller pieces, it makes the task easier to accomplish, et cetera, et cetera. Some of them get really big, like so big that I don't think I'm going to be able to fit this guy all in frame. So let me put him on a book so that way I can hold him up to the camera. This guy, the meme absolute units. This guy is genuinely an absolute unit.
Jeez.
Good lord.
Holy cow, dude. That's amazing.
Okay, for scale, how tall is that?
It's about a foot tall.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a giant
And this
model.
is like a few thousand pieces. It's like, it fully articulates.
How long did that take you to do?
Okay, so there are a few phases to a project like this. There is just snapping the kit together, which if you're unfamiliar with how models work, they usually come on like little plastic sheets called runners. Those are like the little trays that all the pieces come on. So you need to cut all the pieces off. You don't need to paint them, but you need to cut them off the runners. And that sort of the process is called snapping the kit together, which is just assembling the kit. I would say on that big model, the red one, snapping probably took me 40 hours.
Jeez.
No, it took me more than that because I worked on it every single night for 2 weeks, a few hours a night. So probably maybe 50 to 60. And then there are other phases after that. There are over 400 small little decals to place on that model, which I haven't done any of. They're tiny, like little like caution labels, like where a vent would be or whatever.
Yeah.
Tiny little details, which I would say applying all of those decals would be an equal, if not more, amount of time than snapping the kit together. And then there's the panel lining or weathering process. Taking marker or like a little file and adding like little chips or little bits of damage. I would say you could easily invest 150 hours into a kit that big. If you want.
Could you buy a pre-built, already done one for relatively inexpensive, for less than what you think you would put in there?
I mean, certainly, if you were to judge my hourly rate as a motion graphics artist and the amount of time that I would judge for 150
Right.
hours of labor, sure, it's cheaper.
Well,
But
let's say minimum wage.
a professionally built by somebody who like does it, all the
Mhm.
time, say like the equivalent of getting it done on Etsy,
Mm-hmm.
right? Somebody to put that kit together and do all of the details, I would not be surprised if the quote was $1,000 to buy that.
Jeez.
I mean, I'm just completely throwing that number out there. I have no idea what like a professional Gunpla, builder and customization person would charge. I have no idea what their rate would be.
Master grade high new Gundam painted and built for $400.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
that's the MG master grade Sazabi version Ka, which is like a high detail model. Yeah. So yeah, if it was a couple $100, because the kit itself is about 125,
Wow.
just on its own. And
What one is that one called that you were just showing?
Sazabi, Sazabi.
Microsurface is the material channel I was trying to remember. It's called a microsurface. Of course, most wouldn't have that as an option. Most engines wouldn't have that as an option,
$630.
but you could always layer that on top of something else. This is the example here. This isn't the physically based rendering encyclopedia. This is something we linked to on a show a long time ago. There's a lot of cool stuff in here. I think Matt sent me this. But see this microsurface map right here? That goes into something like this lens right here. But microsurface would be like all the cracks and crevices and seams and stuff.
$630 for the done painted
Jeez.
Bandai Sazabi.
Man,
Yeah, I mean that doesn't
$630.
surprise me at all because like there are so many points of articulation.
Yeah.
And, like
Mhm.
this is a kit that they call like a transformation kit where let's see if I can do this on. So like his shoulder portion right here. Right now it's like in its most opened state,
Uh-huh.
but like it kind of closes up.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole kit kind of does this where he's got like an idle mode and then an active mode where everything kind of like the Dilophosaurus in Jurassic Park where it
Right.
kind of fans out and it gets all aggressive. It's kind of like that. I mean it's a silly anime show, but yeah, there's an impressive amount of engineering that goes into these kits, and it's like, wow, if I was to approach 3D modeling this, like having a model like this on hand would be
Yeah.
just, like that would be so valuable.
Yeah.
Looking at like how two shapes can come together to merge, if you think about where those edge loops and all those polygons, how they might connect and stuff, it's
Yeah.
like, okay, that's something that this hobby in particular could, you could spin it in a way that you can recognize the value in 3D. Just like the car stuff, it's like it's a motivating thing. I like cars, so if I make a render or a model of a car that I really like, I'm like, okay, I get kind of jazzed and excited about it. The same way that
Man, it gets you pumped.
yeah, if I really do. I get really excited when I load up a RAM preview of a render of something and I'm like, damn, that looks really cool. Like I'm really proud of that. And whatever you need to do to trick your brain into helping you make more personal work, it's worth doing. I set that goal of making that number of demo reels, and I'm not going to be able to accomplish that task without making personal work. And how do I stay so active making personal work? Well, I find ways to incorporate things that I like that
Right.
when I pull it off and I'm happy with the result, I'm even happier with the result because it was something that I like.
Yeah.
For my
Right.
non-MoGraph life. You might like wildlife photography or whatever, and so it might be a cool idea for you to try to sculpt a really nice flower or do texture painting, learn a substance or whatever to recreate a plant of some kind, like whatever hobby, whatever floats your boat. Think critically on ways to incorporate that into your personal work as a motion designer, 2D, 3D, whatever your flavor.
What's your
And that's
flavor?
it makes this work more fun, even more fun than it already is. And I can't recommend it enough, honestly.
I actually
awesome.
I really liked that whenever Grayscale Gorilla, when they did their 5-second project, and they did the one called Favorite Toy, or Favorite Toys. This is years ago. That was a really great one because everybody kind of went back and was able to think of their favorite toy and find pictures and model it and do something cool with it. And that's kind of along the same thing, is that everybody was really into it for that reason. You know, I did Micro Machines because I loved Micro Machines growing up. So.
Right.
Or those are like the tiny, like inch big sized cars, right?
Yeah.
Gosh, those things were all the rage. And it's funny how many people that are just maybe even a couple years outside of my age group never have heard of it. Either older than me or younger than me. I thought that was really weird because I thought in my own head back then, I was like, well, this is like, everybody would know what this is, you know?
Yeah.
But even now I'll bring it up and people are like, what? I never heard of that, you know? So, yeah. So I made the little gas station with the, they had all these little things.
Well, that's what that was from. Okay.
They looked like, the series that they did looked like little things that you would buy at the auto parts store, you know. So you had the gas can, the oil can, a battery, you know, things like that. And so I modeled this because it was something from my childhood that I liked, and it's kind of along the same lines. It's like when you're into it, then it's so much more fun to do. That's why I guess personal projects are much more fun than clients projects.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean, they almost always are. And the nice thing about doing a lot of personal work is, you know, you stay sharp, you're able to improve your skills. And in the blue moon opportunity that something you do genuinely really like comes up as a client piece of work, you know, you're all the more prepared. Your skills are sharp. You can say, hey, you know, in my case, you know, I like to model like wheels for cars, because it's a little bit more approachable of a task. It's, you know, modeling one wheel versus a whole car is much more digestible in a single sitting. But when an opportunity for me to model an entire car comes up, I'm like, okay, I've got the first step of this, you know, I've got footing on climbing this mountain. You know, I've got my first foothold, and I can build off of that. And you know, you might like illustrating, you might like character animation, whatever. You know, find a way to incorporate that stuff, or incorporate properties that you like. You know, if you liked drawing as a kid, or you know, cartoons or whatever, and you know, maybe you've fallen out of drawing, you know, draw things from your childhood or whatever. You know, draw characters. You know, draw Rocco from Rocco's Modern Life or whatever. If you need to, if that gets you going on a daily sketching assignment, you know, a New Year's resolution or something you said you always wanted to do, you know, that's an actionable, that's a gateway drug to trick your brain into like doing this thing more frequently.
yeah.
Right. Like, you know, if you say, I want to do a daily sketching assignment, but I don't know what to draw. Well, just start off drawing a bunch of stuff from your childhood or a bunch of stuff that you like, or it's laying around your house. And then you do that long enough that you run out of those ideas, but now you're in the routine. You've established like, okay, well, I've built up my drawing skill. I can draw anything that I want now.
Yeah. Well, let's go to some Beeple's People before we get out of here.
Come on. The show's already long enough. We don't need this crap.
No, we got some good ones this week. So
right.
Everybody get out your Beeple viewer of choice and go to, let's see, January 14th, Year of Warlord 2019. This one is called Ape Shit. And this is pretty interesting.
You bring it up?
Oh yeah, I should bring it up. I'm already looking at it, sorry. I was just staring at its beauty.
Yeah. He's been into the animals lately.
This isn't the big animals, but the difference is he's got like forester stuff on him or something.
Yeah.
So he's covered in grass and stuff. So I thought this would be an interesting story. Because
maybe all these animal ones, maybe there's a world where all these animals live.
An animal planet, if you would.
Planet. Yes, where they actually harvest these animals for other worlds. Or perhaps it's a robot.
I think it's a robot. I mean, look at the eyes.
Yeah,
or at least it's robotic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's got stuff growing out of it, so you figure if it were organic, that wouldn't be healthy.
The growing out of it could also be, a disguise of some kind. It could help camouflage it.
Yeah, imagine that. He just kind of ducks down, and because you can imagine how this scene starts is the guy in the
and if he's
water
doing
suit.
that for camouflage, you can only imagine how big the thing that he's trying to hide from is.
Right. Oh, geez. But he's there, and this guy in his little diving suit kind of comes up out of the water and stands up on the shore, and then all of a sudden this huge gorilla stands up, and he's like, oh boy.
I like that.
You had a bad day. Yeah. All right, so we're going to go to, let's see. Oh, January 19th. This one is called Low End. The Ghetto Blaster is back.
All right.
And he's redone it. He's redone it, incorporated things like stairs. I don't know if you can see. It's got stairs. So this thing is huge. I'm assuming this is the outside of the building where that other Ghetto Blaster panel is that we talked about a long time ago.
Maybe.
But you got to look closely at this to see it's, this helps you get the scale. It's got the stairs and stuff over here. The balconies or docks or something. This is Ghetto Blaster Central. And it's called Low End. I'm guessing because you got kind of a Michael J. Fox situation going on if you turn this thing on. I mean, like times 1,000. I mean, imagine how.
Oh, right.
They need a crane to get the cassette in there.
Right.
Yeah. No, I wasn't making a.
Yeah, sorry.
Parkinson's. No, what does he have?
Parkinson's, I think. Yeah.
Parkinson's or MS?
Yeah.
MS. No, or
I don't know.
I don't know. No, it wasn't that joke. It was the big speaker joke.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. I misunderstood. I apologize.
No, this isn't Family Guy. So,
yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know what the green things are, though. Can you tell what the green things are around it?
It looks like grass or some sort of organic material, but I don't know.
Like clips or something. I can't tell.
Yeah, they look kind of like fuses or clips of some kind. I think it's just like a kit bash element. There's obviously a lot of that going on, but I like it as a return to form in the sort of 2014, 2015 vintage of Beeple, where it's like a very techy, big monolithic shape. Because it looks a lot like the NASA vehicle assembly building, like those huge structures. The structure that is on rails that kind of goes back and forth in order to like lower pieces in, things like that. But this is a model. This is a model in Turbo Squid. This is a model we bought for a project, but he's redone all of it. So he's like taken all the knobs off, turn it up and rip the knob off, and he put the. I think he's probably grabbing kit bash stuff and putting it onto the existing model. That's my.
Are we doing the next one?
Yes, we are doing the next one. The next one is yesterday, which was the 20th, January 20th. This one is called To Infinity and Beyond.
so silly.
And you got all these Buzz Lightyear heads that look like they're made out of rock.
They look like rocks. Yeah.
And they're decomposing or something. And he's done the story. We'll do the story here.
Oh, okay.
This was probably one of the worst F-ups. Don't get me wrong. There were a lot of little kinks to work out. But then we put the AI fully in control of the space program. But in terms of unforeseen consequences, as the Bureau likes to call them, this was one of the bad ones. To be honest, though, things like this happen all the time now. Not usually quite this bizarre, but you really have to be careful about what the program is learning about because it's still relatively young and inexperienced. It's like a little kid in many respects. You never know what it's going to get hyper-focused on or make some really odd connection with. The main problem was that nobody really noticed for over a year. It was quietly launching in the heads from a few remote... It was quietly launching the heads from a few remote unmanned stations on Mars. Nobody really thought anything of it. They assumed these were normal scientific probes going out, which happened without any human intervention all the time. By the time we discovered the first heads on another planet, it had already launched over 4,000 of these missions, air quotes, on about 4 different planets and 6 moons. One of the moons was almost 20% covered with heads.
That's funny.
I'm on the team tasked with cleaning up this mess. I've been doing this job for 15 years.
That's funny.
I mean, honestly, I figure, you found that out, you just kind of let it go.
Yeah.
Rather than clean it up. See, so that the question is, why do they have to be cleaned up?
Yeah, I don't know.
I need those planets for farming.
All right, let's get out of here.
Okay.
Gurnge, it was so much fun having you on.
Oh,
You're like
dude.
one of my favorite people in the world.
Thanks, man. No, it's always fun to be on. Always fun to hang out. It's interesting always being on this side of the chat window. So I appreciate the invitation as always.
Mm-hmm.
I had to add Raid Zero on that Buzz Lightyear head thing. Said, show me what you got. You have to add the obligatory. Anytime there's a giant head. But yeah, thanks Billy for being on. We can't wait to hang out with you. I guess the next time we'll hang out might be NAB.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Might be. We'll see when this secret project wraps up, and I'll do some breakdowns or some more media in support of that coming out.
Cool.
Whenever that is.
Cool. And
Cool.
we've got some great guests lined up for you. We added some other ones in the last couple days. I know we had talked about last time on our schedule that we have next Monday there won't be a show. I won't be here, but later on in the week on Friday there will be with Sabor, because we've been wanting to have him on for a long time. And then the following Monday we're going to have Phil on. We'll probably talk about that. We'll probably wait for that day to do kind of an MDC wrap up, followed by Caitlin Kaju, Barton Damer the next week, then Josh Johnson, and Bhatki Patel, and then we just added Noseman March 11th, and then Smearballs on April 1st. On April Fool's Day.
You guys are.
That's gonna be
Seems
so
appropriate,
awesome.
right? So that'll be fun.
Oh man.
That's quite a schedule lineup.
Yeah. So that'll be fun. We're adding some more people in there too. We've been talking to some other people, but we haven't locked in the times yet. So we got some great people lined up, and of course, then after that week, we'll be doing the special stuff for NAB, and that's always a really fun time. So
Cool.
all right, Billy, if they want to find you, you're gurnge.com, right?
Yep, you can find me there. Also on Instagram at Gurnge, on Twitter at _Gurnge, because Twitter's account reclamation process is non-existent.
Yeah.
Well, I know. I've
yeah.
been trying to get Mograph for a while.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I even own the domain name of the people who owned it previously, and the email addresses of the people who owned it previously. Can't get in.
yeah,
No,
I
they
looked.
won't give them away.
There was a funny Twitter thread, just real quick, of how you can reclaim a specific on Twitter, and people basically said you and the current holder have to just have a death match. That's official
what it comes
policy,
down to.
and
There's
it's
no
like
other way.
it might as well be.
Yeah, I think something happened with Twitch and Grayscale Gorilla or something at one point too, right? Like they weren't using it, or they wanted a different name, or I don't remember
know
what it is. They have it now, but now Twitch is like kind of, I don't think anybody in our industry is really using Twitch that much for any of their stuff, are they? It's just all gaming.
Deadmau5 is
mostly.
Yeah, all Deadmau5 is, but he's doing gaming.
true.
So
Yeah.
I got banned on Twitch actually 4 years ago. This was before they made it possible to do artwork on Twitch, because it strictly said you can only play games.
Oh,
Whereas
really?
They were using that as their TOS to filter out certain undesirable things. So they just banned anyone who wasn't playing games. And I was like, I want to do Cinema 4D, and they banned me. And like now it's like a relatively common thing that you can look up, people modeling things in Blender or Cinema 4D. Like, there's a whole section for creative.
Right.
And
right.
My attempt to use it predated that, and they just were like, nope, you're gone. Bye.
Jeez. Well, you can hear them blowing leaves outside the window, so I think we should get out of here before it gets any louder. It's going to get bad in a second, I guarantee. So
Yeah, I got clients calling me too, so.
All right. Well, we're going to get out of here, and make sure you rate us on iTunes, leave a review, subscribe on your podcaster of choice. Sign up for our newsletters. You can say you've been there, done that. Got the t-shirt with the No Brograph, No Mograph tee, the Gate and D Simone limited edition shirt, which is still out there. The Paul Bad, Feel the Bad 2020 shirt. All the profits from that go to Doctors Without Borders. And the Render Things shirt and hoodie. Make sure you get those in for NAB this year. so you can support that with the rest of us. And we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, Brograph.com, all the other stuff and things. And that wraps it up. Till next week.
Cool.
I'm Dave.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Billy.
Have a good one.
Later, bros.
Bye.
Almost 3 hours, y'all.
Wow,
Snap.
I can click stop recording on Audition now.
Yeah.
Yep. Which episode was this?
168. 1 diggity 8.
Alright, so I need to do file. I export this, right?
No, you just do file save as,
Oh,
and then it'll save it as a
as a wave.
yeah.